excuse me, for Monday, March 16th is called to order. Everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before we continue, Kevin Kraus has an announcement he'd like to make.
Good evening, everyone. Just real quick, we want to be respectful of everyone's time and everybody's opportunity to participate this evening. We currently, right now, have our west entrance to City Hall, our east entrance ramp to City Hall under construction. And because of that, we have limited emergency egress from the building. Everyone's in here. We have a packed room tonight. I just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of that. We're trying to accommodate everyone and allow everyone to stay in here and be part of this discussion. What I am going to ask is if you are on the agenda for different agenda items, once your agenda item is complete, then you can move to the hallway. There is going to be a monitor. Do we have that in the monitor in the hallway? We'll have the broadcast of the monitor in the hallway as well. I'm just trying to be respectful of the fire code and make sure everyone stays safe. And like I said, because of that construction, we're limited, but we want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak and participate this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Item 2 is roll call.
Roll call. Ms. Jemison?
Here.
Mr. Long? Here. Mr. Gladfelter?
Here.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Crover?
Here.
Ms. Roscoe?
Here.
Mr. McAnally?
Here.
Bugwade is here. Chair Freitag?
Here. Next, we have approval of the, approval of the agenda.
So move, Madam Chair.
Support.
You're supporting, was that you,
That was me and it was,
Mr. Green?
that was me and it was
Who?
Jameson. Mrs. Jameson.
Sorry.
Sound good.
Okay. So I have a motion for Ms. Jamison, supported by,
No. I made the motion, Mrs. Jameson.
she seconded it.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you having fun yet? I have a motion, by that's all, I thought it sounded like you. Motion for Mr. Gladfelter, supported by Ms. Jamison, to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Mr. Gladfelter,
Yes.
Ms. Jamison,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Prova,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. McAnally,
Yes.
Ms. Roberade.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, the agenda is approved. The next item we have is approval of the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting held on Wednesday, February 18th, 2026.
Madam Chair, Crowe would like to make a motion to approve minutes.
Okay,
Support.
who supported it? I have a motion for Mr. Crova, supported by Mr. Long, to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion on that? Mr. Crova,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Gotflouty,
Abstain.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. McAnally,
Yes.
Mr. Bovade,
Yes.
Ms. Jamison.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, the minutes are approved. Okay, next we have comments from the public on non-agenda items. Is anyone here that wishes to speak to us or talk to us about items that are not on our agenda? Not everybody at once. Okay, seeing no one. The first we have is old business, and that's RZ 2025003. Merriman School, Romulus Self-Storage, 15303 Merriman Road. The project, they're asking for a conditional rezoning. The front portion of the property, 12.88 acres of 25.6 acre parcel from R1A Single Family Residential to M1 Light Industrial for the purpose of redeveloping the former Merriman School into a self-storage and industrial flex space facility. And is petitioner here?
So we're going to start, I think you have a list in terms of the order that we're going to go in these couple public hearings tonight.
Not a public hearing.
This is not a public hearing.
It's not a public hearing, but, oh, okay, you're right. We took that one's not a public hearing. You know, before we go to the petitioner, though, we would like to give a little bit of, I'm sorry, it's been a crazy day today. A little bit of background. As you know, you guys did table this after the public hearing in December. Since that time, we have worked very, very hard with the applicant and also with Mr. Kraus and Mr. Scapitici. DPW director is here. You probably noticed quite an extensive change to the section on the road improvements in there. So we wanted to point out a couple things that they are here tonight to answer any of the questions. We also have Mr. Greco here that was quite involved in the agreement.
Okay.
So if you want to hear a summary of the project again, Mr. Enos can do that unless you want to jump right into it and talk to the developer.
Go ahead and do a summary.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. Good evening. Good evening, residents. My name is John Enos. I'm a planning consultant for the city to help out the commission with decisions like this. Tonight, you're going to have two things, and so just so you're understanding, this first case is going to be a conditional rezoning, just like the upcoming case. And what does that conditional rezoning mean? Well, that means that the applicant or the property owner has the ability to come before the city of Romulus and say, I would like to rezone this property for this specific use. And why is that important? Well, if we were to rezone a piece of property to a specific zoning district, there's any number of uses that could go in that district. And this overview relates to our next case as well. So with a conditional rezoning, the property owner comes to the city and specifically says what they're going to do on the property, so that even if they were to sell the property or win the Powerball or whatever the case may be, whatever they are proposing has to be developed on that site. So it can't be for example, if we're talking about this upcoming case, it can't be an automobile salvage yard. It can't meet any of those other uses that are in the district. In this particular case, they're proposing to rezone the front part of this property where the Merriman School is to M1 light industrial. And in order to get that, in order to retrofit or rehabilitate, and I think that's a real important part of this, and kind of a cool thing is that we've got an empty school, and it's not often you get that opportunity to rehab or redevelop an existing building that could be blighted, that could be empty, could be vacant. In this particular case, they're proposing a relatively low-intensity use for the area around the school. And that includes a variety of uses within there, particularly mini storage, flex commercial uses. And what is that? Flex commercial uses are smaller offices, are incubator offices, and there's only going to be 8 of those because we wanted to make sure that whatever use is on that site will have the parking. And it's a 2-phase project. The interesting, or I think the opportunity here for the city is that for those residents who are just east of the Merriman School, they would probably be concerned if that area where the dog park is or the tennis court, which is now in disrepair, were to be rezoned. Well, that's not being rezoned. That back half is going to stay at residential. That back half is going to be donated to the city. So the city will own that property. So there's there won't be any concern of this use kind of bleeding over. So that 12 acres just east of the school, the Merriman School, is going to remain residential and will be city property. The school itself, that's going to be redeveloped into these uses that I was talking about. And if you make your recommendation, and again for the residents tonight, with rezonings, the rezoning process is a 2-phase process. This is a recommending body. They will make an advisory recommendation up to city council, who'll make an ultimate decision on this. And then, even then, and if they do rezone it, their work isn't done yet. There is going to be a need for a site plan and a special use for this, and that more detailed plan will come before you if and when city council were to approve this. This is important because there's a lot of questions on the devil's in the details, right? And so once if you're okay with this use being used for flex space and mini storage, then we get into issues such as lighting, facade, landscaping, access to that rear parcel that's going to stay residential. And then also looking at that section of Merriman is going to be paved from the school north up to Ecorse, which I think is kind of a cool thing too, because that road will be paved. And so all these things are part of the rezoning, the conditions that you attach to that, the applicant is attached to it. So your charge this evening will be to say, oh, does this work at this location? If it does, you make an advisory recommendation to council, and then the applicant who's going to give a presentation here is going to come back before us and talk about the more details in that process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And you have a copy of,
I'm sorry?
you received a copy of our reports?
Yes. Paul Weisberger on behalf of the applicant. The applicant being 15303 Merriman Road LLC.
Right.
Okay, good. I see you have a busy night ahead of you. Last time we had 2 people from the public, so I hope they're not all here for us. But that being said, I think John did a good job of kind of hitting the highlights. I do want to kind of emphasize a couple of those and then really turn it over for questions and comments, because that's really probably what you guys want to get into. Again, this is a rehab project. It's taking an old school building that probably one day had quite a bit of traffic up and down that road with a number of kids coming and going. This is extremely low intensity use. It's a storage facility. It's not retail. That's one of the conditions. There will be no retail. I think the closest we get to retail is potentially people buying some packing tape and boxes if they come into the moving office, the rental office. Anything that would be outside that would be considered storage would be RV vehicles and fleet vehicles. What are fleet vehicles? That might be if somebody was running an HVAC contracting business and they don't have their employees take their vehicles home with them every night. And they're specifically designated parking spaces for those that we've worked out with staff.
Excuse me.
I have with me tonight Brian Canona standing to my left. We've also got Chris from Design Inc., who did a lot of the heavy lifting on the engineering and what I call the details. They're happy to answer any questions. Most of them will be answered by them. We were here again on 12/15. I was not present, but Brian was. I think you've given an overview on what's being dedicated. I would say that that's a property value that's estimated somewhere between $550,000 to $700,000. Also, we're taking as I understand it, a no tax base, not on the taxable school district property, and in theory making this a profitable taxable property. It is important to note, and it's in the report, that the property to the west is zoned industrial. This is a natural extension of that zoning. And we think because of the 12.37 acre buffer that's being dedicated to the east, that provides a very significant buffer. It should be noted that the north, I'd call it 30% to 40% of the property at the midway point is a heavily dense wooded area. None of those trees, as I understand it, are being proposed to be removed. As you will see from the conceptual plans, the new structures that are being added are to the north. The future new structures are also being, for the most part, added to the north, with just one building that would be facing the east, and that would be where there'd be no storage doors facing to the east. So you've got a significant buffer. We also have an access strip, not currently proposed to be a public road, but an access strip on the south side that would be dedicated as well to provide access to the dedicated land and the doggy park. The hours of operation are going to be 6 to 10, again, low intensity use. My reading of the report says that the trip generation from what was previously there in terms of the school is probably about a $200 to $300 trip reduction in trips in terms of what this property was used for. What it can in theory be potentially repurposed for, whether it be another school, charter school, or some sort of, assembly hall. This is a low-intensity self-storage facility, and Brian can comment to more of the proposed uses if you have questions. In wrapping this up, I would like to say we met with staff numerous times. Great work with everybody. I think we had a good relationship, and we listened and we accommodated. And to that end, there were some comments made on the last version of the CZA, or Conditional Zoning Agreement, where we will accommodate those, meaning we will take out the references to the gross vehicle weight rating signage. We will, we are going to be seeking a use variance as it relates to the small vehicle weight that's part and parcel to a moving van rental business where you rent out 24-foot, 26-foot trucks. So that there would be limited drive. And we're also, very importantly, I would say Brian was absolutely thrilled, but he has agreed to put two 12-foot strips of 6-inch thick asphalt with another 2 inches of 21 AA aggregate to improve the 500-foot strip coming from Eureka South, and also accommodate the 20-foot additional request that was requested that we take it to the southern radius of the northern entrance. So that's something that he's going to accomplish. As I stated, no retail, no outdoor storage, and in conclusion, we would respectfully request that you adopt the findings of fact that are contained within your packet from CWA, as well as the positive recommendations from both CWA and OHM, and we look for a positive recommendation to City Council.
Okay. I do have to apologize. I didn't ask for your name and address before you started.
But Paul Weisberger, but the address is 330 Hamilton Row, Suite 300, Birmingham, Michigan 48009.
Thank you, and I do apologize.
Madam Chairperson,
Yes,
just to clarify as well, and thank you for that overview, again, is that, because we don't see a lot of conditional rezonings in Romulus, but we do see some, is that they will still, although they talk about the site plan and they talk about a special use and they talk about a variance, all of those things
Right.
have to be approved by the individual body. So if it's a special use or site plan, it's you guys. If it's a variance, whatever variance, use variance for weight or height or whatever, that's going to be before the BZA. So just to make sure that clarification is there. And
Right.
we didn't want that kind of language in the conditional rezoning agreement either.
right. Yeah, we're just here tonight to recommend rezoning, conditional rezoning to the city council.
To the city council, on the second page of the cover sheet, the summary report, we did add, a condition that we make these subject to. We do need to clean up the conditional rezoning agreement just a little bit. So we put in the comments of the city attorney, consultant, staff, and, if you all have any comments to add to it, that we address those before it goes to city council, which is our typical procedure here. So it sounds like they're.
You can have you can give a conditional approval based on having our council take a look at that and make it mark up.
Right.
From a legal standpoint, then it goes to council.
Madam Chair, through the chair to the planner and probably the attorney, at what point are we at with this agreement? Are we in a position where we feel comfortable with the
We're
agreement?
very close. There were 3 comments highlighted, wedged into a lot of discussion in the Carlisle-Wortman letter, but I believe in the OHM letter, Lindsay, you had them, you want to talk about the 3? They're kind of engineering-related items.
You're good?
You're on.
No, you're
Oh,
not.
you were good. It's red, okay.
Sorry about that. All right, our 3 main concerns were just that, as we discussed in some of our meetings, there is a question about which point the plans would have to go to Wayne County for review. And there was just some language there that needed to be adjusted, which they took care of. And then also as discussed, paving Merriman Road. One thing we do want to discuss that wasn't, there was some back and forth and I think some confusion between our communication and emails back and forth on the actual length of roadway which is being paved. We would rather see it to the end of the concrete, and I think the CRA mentions to the end of the asphalt, which is existing on Merriman Road. And I think it's about 100 feet difference. It's on the right, just south of, right before, like, the end of Merriman.
Do you mean to the southern side of the property or
No, I'm talking on the north side of the property,
where it meets
where it
Eureka?
meets with Eureka, you're right. There's about 100 feet of existing asphalt, and it's in very poor condition.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it, and you're right, it actually is in very poor condition.
And I figured with,
If we're gonna do a part of a road, yeah, we'll look at it, it's not like we'll leave like one section undone, so,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
I almost drove into the pothole. Yeah.
just so that, I think there was some language there that just needed to be cleaned up, but I believe that was it. Ms. Carroll would like to remind me of my third item?
You have the stormwater.
Yep.
Comment on stormwater you talked about, the pavement extension you just talked about, and then the issue with the weight limits and the use variance reference. So I think, we'll sit down like we did last time and kind of go through it.
But just to be clear, it sounds like that's an issue. We've already made actually application to the county to get the storm thing going.
Good.
So we're gonna change that language.
Perfect.
We are gonna agree to the 20 feet extra. And then we're gonna take out this reference about the signage on the gross vehicle weight rating. That's under your jurisdiction. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right.
The other, last question
Go
I
ahead.
had, and that's whoever can answer. There are 17 findings of fact that were listed in your summary, and you're aware of it, and that you can uphold or live to all those agreement requirements?
I don't have any problem with you've read the 17 findings of
We're
fact.
talking about the summary, right?
Yeah, we don't have any problems, yeah, we've read them.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, when we put that in the motion, that for the findings of fact, you're aware of all those.
Yeah, those are just reminders. The developer doesn't need the reminders, but those are just reminders that, hey, when you do submit this, and if council does approve this, it'll be sent to us relatively quick, is that, hey, we're gonna be going back to this agreement along with our ordinance and our engineering standards to tie all that together, so. it's
I just wanted to make sure nobody had missed anything.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
that's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Nobody?
Madam Chair, did you want to, we did have some of the public that was interested that came to your last meeting. We did let you know that, again, this was not a public hearing, my mistake initially. However, we did notify those people. I'm not sure if they're here, but you may want to see if there is any of the nearby
Sure.
residents that
No problem.
came and they're back for a follow-up.
Is there anyone here that wants to speak on this particular project? Over there in the corner? One of you come up and give us your name and then you'll be next.
Hello, Dawn Karkowski, 16247 Merriman Road. I was here at the last meeting and spoke, and Mr. Enos, you clarified both last time and this time what the conditional zoning meant. My question is, what is the condition of this zoning? Is it gonna be RV storage? Is it going to be indoor storage? Is it going to be, they've laid out 5 potentially different things that this property could potentially be used for in the future if they decide to dissolve this venture and move on. Furthermore, like I said at the previous meeting, this is a dirt residential primarily road. Even though the other side of the road was zoned light industrial, it was only done so to accommodate a horse boarding facility, not businesses. Everybody on that block, if you drive down that block, everybody there still lives in front of their, if they do have businesses on the other side of the road, they are living in front of their house. This was originally a school. Most of us that moved onto our properties on this mile-long stretch moved there because it was a school. We moved there for community. And now, piece by piece, this is being taken away. And regardless of what the petitioner says about this is not spot zoning, just because the other side of the road is light industrial now, It is spot zoning. The rest of our side of the block is residential, as is the other side behind us in the subdivision. This was a school. Primary high traffic hours were drop off and pickup. We didn't have traffic coming and going from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at night. And it is a dirt road. We moved there because of that. It is a rural road. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mark Sullivan, 16455 Merriman Road. I moved out of Dearborn Heights to get away from the cookie cutter houses right next to each other, Lowe's, Home Depot, everything right there. Saw this house, fell in love with it. Property opened up everywhere. It was great, peaceful, everything was nice. Now we're looking at opening up a facility here. If you remember the last meeting that they spoke, it was only gonna be 4 to 5 visitors a day coming through that facility. Then they brought up, oh, we're gonna open up a real estate office. So then somebody said, oh, so that's another 1 or 2 more people per day. Now they just brought up, they're gonna be storing employees' vehicles there because they can't take the company vehicles home. So now our 4 to 5, 5 to 6, so now we're looking at 14, 15, we don't know how many. Then they said that the real estate's gonna be by appointment only. You really believe that's gonna happen by appointment only? I don't, because I'm gonna tell you, this was me trying to open this facility up, I'm gonna tell you whatever you wanna hear. You wanna hear it, yep, everything, because once this goes in their possession, it's theirs. They can do what they want. Yes, they're gonna be hours of 6 to 10. They said they're not gonna manufacture, they're not gonna build. They're gonna have maybe construction zones there where they're gonna park their trailers. Customers gonna come in, maybe want countertops made. Well, they're gonna store the stuff, they're gonna build the stuff, they're gonna leave it there. Why take it to their job or wherever? They can store everything there. So now you're looking at warehousing, manufacturing. You have people right next door. This is gonna go on till 10 o'clock at night, every night. Now, if any one of you live there, how would you feel about that? That would be headlights in your house, hear noises all the time, hammers, drills, whatever it may be. It's not gonna be a rural country setting anymore. So now we're going to industrial. I didn't move out here to do that. I moved out here to be in the country setting. And now it's slowly getting taken away from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody else? Is there anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Shakil, address 15295 Merriman. I am probably the neighbor who will be affected the most because I'm right next door. I'm on the corner of Eureka and Merriman, and I actually moved to that house from California. I left California to come to Romulus because of my work, and I chose Romulus simply for the commute. And I chose Merriman Road because it's like living in a city, but in a village. So, and when I moved here, I was very excited. When I have kids, they would go to school next door, but unfortunately, the school shut down. The previous 2 neighbors who mentioned the things that they mentioned, I agree with them wholeheartedly. And because I wish to live in Romulus, this is my home, and I wish to retire here, and I wish to die here. So I spent a lot of money, and I upgraded my house. And now to have commercial traffic going down, up and down the street is not in my best interest. So the questions that I have for the developer, sounds to me like they want to do a lot of things. We want to do this, and this, but I don't see anything from the stuff that I've seen. I don't see anything in concrete that we're going to do this and here's the plan, and here's the steps. A conditional zoning, you guys may look at it and approve it tonight. What if tomorrow they come back to get another conditional zoning on the existing conditional zoning? And this question was brought up last time, that if these guys, like somebody joked around, if these guys hit a Powerball and decide to sell the property, well, then what happens? Does it go back to what it was, or does it remain what it is? Or does it change it to something else? So there's still as of now, there's a lot of unknowns. I just hope that the governing body will look at this request and put themselves in my house and make a decision from that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
My name is Doug Atkins. I'm at 16221 Merriman. I've been there since 1977 because it's a real rural area. We got horses that go up and down the road. I love it out there. And now I got to worry about big trucks coming down our road. And once in a while, one of these trucks will come down the road, and because they don't own the truck and they don't care how fast it's going or how much noise it's making, but now we're going to get more of those trucks coming down the road. So I'm not happy with this at all. I like the rural setting that we have. I've been there a long time. I planned on dying there. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this matter? Okay, I don't, you sir?
My name is Herbert Frowner. I really don't understand too much about this, but I kind of understand what the people that's come up here saying, that all of a sudden that whole area don't change. And I can understand them. What I don't understand, what do it take to turn this whole project down? How many people got to complain, and kind of say that that they don't want it. Do it take 50 people? Do it take 100 people, or what? And that's the part I don't understand. How many people that really got to complain, they have it turned down. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
My name is Coretta Goff, 6123 Swan Lake Drive, Romulus. I don't understand really what's going on. I just took some pictures. I just pulled up the picture of the old school, and I agree with the residents that's complaining about the noise pollution and the serenity that they're going to be potentially losing because of this opportunity. Romulus is mostly a country type environment, and a lot of people that live here like the quietness, and that's why most of us have moved out here for that. So I agree with the residents that are being impacted by this construction project, and I hope that the powers that be will vote it down.
Thank you.
Toby Benson Walker, 33316 Sandpiper Drive. I agree with the residents. I just want to know, have any of you gone to their neighborhood to see what exactly the traffic would be and if you would want to live there with whatever they're proposing? Or has the city council gone over there to actually see the neighborhood and see how it's going to affect the people that live there and potentially move out of Romulus and take their tax dollars out of Romulus because of this?
Right.
That's
We normally do, as commissioners, we normally do go to the proposed site and take a look at it. Any others?
Good. We probably need to keep in mind, this isn't a public hearing.
Pardon?
We had a public hearing on this back
Right.
in December. So-
Right. I just want to make sure everybody had a chance to talk, that's all.
Yeah, and I think we did talk to the people that were here last time.
Okay.
That were able to speak again, so we thank
All
them
righty.
for coming out.
Then we'll go ahead and move on. Any other questions or comments from the planning commission?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Long?
if it's all right with the petitioner, could the petitioner come back up and speak on exactly what their use would be of the facility if the rezoning, conditional rezoning is granted, and probably address some of the concerns of those that spoke?
Yes. The uses are going to be, in general terms, are going to be indoor climate-controlled self-storage, low-intensity business suites or flex suites with a maximum square footage and also a cap on what could be professional office. Those have been worked out and are in the agreement with exact square footages. We also have drive-up self-storage, which is really on the southern side of the property, and that's only meant to drop off stuff when it's raining and inclement. And then there's going to be some RV storage. Again, those are not the type of activities or vehicles that come and go daily, they're stored. So keep in mind that the emphasis on this project is storage, so it's indoor storage. So this is not retail, this is not heavy-duty back and forth. This isn't even a school, as much as we love kids laughing and the sound of kids, it's not the sound of a bunch of kids with school buses going up and down dirt roads and potholes and banging away. We are going to be improving 520 feet, maybe it sounds like more, off of Merriman, which would be a very quiet access to this project. The vast majority of vehicles would be coming from Utica, if you look at normal traffic patterns. And so you're going to now have an improved, quiet street where vehicles are going to come with a low-intensity use and do indoor storage, whether that's climate control or not climate control.
So there won't be any manufacturing going on?
No.
There won't be any large rig truck storage?
No, there's just gonna be, so when we say truck, it'll fit under a small truck, like a U-Haul, a rental, moving van rental trucks that are there, and they fall under kind of the small category. And they're probably about 7, I think, is what we've proposed and what we intend to kind of have.
And
That's accessory, and I'm sorry, that's accessory, so this is not really the bulk of the business, it's just 7.
And also, with that proposed conditional rezoning, those concerns, should they be a worry about those? If you were a resident on that street, would you have any concern about that?
No, I mean, I would tell you, you ask yourself, what could this be repurposed for? I mean, could it be repurposed for senior housing with numerous guests coming and going every day? Sure, that's more intense than what we're proposing. Could it be repurposed for, I don't know, and I don't want to get on sort of subject, but like charter school or a new school where you have endless school buses and vehicles coming and going? It could. So the things that you're repurposing and rehabbing, it's about as low intensity as you can get. I mean.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to address the concern of the residents because, they were under the impression that it would be manufacturing going on certain amount of hours and everything, and all of those would be with your operating agreement with the city, what hours of operation and what could go on there. So that's what I wanted to get clarification on.
And we do have to appear before you again with a site plan.
Plan and everything, yes.
Which would include buffering,
Right.
screening.
Yeah.
That's the stage where all these performance standards, the noise, the lights, all of
Right,
that
yeah.
are going to be reviewed in detail.
Right now, we're looking at the conditional rezoning, and they have to abide by what they agree to. And if they don't, then the city would take action. But for the most part, the other conditional rezonings that we had in the city, everybody's pretty much, you know, done what they say they're gonna do. And I don't see any difference here. First of all, as far as trucks go, you're not gonna have any big trucks. You
Right.
might have a box truck maybe, that would be the largest.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, people are worried that you're gonna have semis coming up and down the
No,
street.
no, none of that.
No,
Yeah,
right.
M1 falls under the small trucks.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
if we were to even make any change in that matter, we would have to go through a variance through BZA, and, yeah, that's a
Right.
totally, this is a land use discussion where,
Exactly.
yeah, it's a little bit different. The details come down the road.
Right.
But anything, what happens is if we don't abide by the CZA, this all reverts back to R1.
Right.
So, for the concerns about, who's to come next, we're bound through this CZA. So anyone to come after this, they have to start it all over again through R1.
The city attorneys, make sure that there's a default section in there and a reversionary section.
So if you drive away from this business, it reverts back.
Yes.
It's not tied to the land, it's tied to the use, to the ownership.
Correct. Well, correct. Well, no, if we were to sell the
tied to
business,
the land,
it tends to fall under the use. And they would only come in and use it for that specific use, what the conditional rezoning agreement.
Anybody else using that property cannot use it for any more than what it is
Correct.
today, under this.
Right,
Yeah.
without coming back and amending the agreement.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. And 5.6 has a reversion upon non-conformance.
Yeah.
Right. Mr. Vroga?
Through the chair, I have a couple questions. You mentioned the flex suites and the general office. And that's where you could generate a lot of trips back and forth throughout the day. What percentage of that building are you designating for that flex suite and general office?
The total flex suite space is 8,500, if I'm not mistaken, and the maximum that can be for professional office, which I think was deemed the more intense, was 80%.
Yeah.
And there is no retail specifically in the agreement, absolutely no retail. So it's 8,500 total of that whole 40, almost 50,000 square foot structure. It would be 8,500, of 80% of that would be professional office.
So you're saying
Eight
80% of the
units,
building?
8 individual units in
I
there?
think it was six.
I think it was six.
Six.
I think a max of
Yeah, so
six.
six
The
group
way,
units.
the way that the school is designed is very weird. If you guys have seen it from above, it looks like a spaceship, so. The only way we can utilize that space for these suites was to be able to pretty much make it that 8,500. And I don't think, from what we've agreed to, is the six suites at max. If we go further than that, it just ruins all the storage approach that we're gonna take for indoor.
Because I imagine the majority of the indoor will be storage, but you're saying 85% will be office space?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
8,500 feet.
8,500 square feet.
8,500 square feet.
Okay.
And then 80% of that 8,500 square feet, we've limited it to at possibly being professional offices. So that's like 6,200 square feet of possible professional offices. It's kind of a weird, Chris?
But what I will tell you is it does meet the parking calculation. We wanted to make sure that we were in compliance with all the parking, that we also met the intensity concerns of limiting it to 8,500 square feet.
And then my other question would be, you're also planning on putting in some buildings. Are those buildings going to be set up where people can come and work out of, where you'll have the heavier power, heated bathroom? No.
All storage.
It's going to be all storage. So that would be person come in, drop off their stuff and leave,
Yeah.
or pick up, vice versa.
Those
But it won't be
buildings are
stay on the
simply
area.
non-climate
and
controlled.
work.
So the new buildings are non-climate controlled, where the existing building is climate controlled.
Okay.
And all the doors are facing inward, so if any vehicle, or from the light pollution, which was brought up, if you're gonna come service or get your product, you're gonna pull up to your location, the building itself acts as a shield. All the doors are required to face into the property.
I think one of the main things is as long as,
Businesses would operate from the self-storage units. So no individual business owner can come in and operate their business from a self-storage unit.
yeah, because that's some of the things you do see with self-storage, where they target that, and they're in the right, proper place, where they'll have high power, and they'll have heated areas, and they can come and run a business.
Sure.
But
yeah,
these won't have.
We would
that.
offer none of that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, through the chair, what will be your hours of operation?
I think 6 to 10? Yeah.
Okay, based on what the residents have indicated, are you open to reducing those hours so that they don't have the impact of light at night in their houses?
Sure. So we absolutely will be open to considering looking at those hours for sure. I know that those hours are based on really how the other self-storages around this city operate. So they're no more than anywhere else. But yeah, we'll go back and take a look at it and see if that's viable.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from anybody?
Just a comment.
Go ahead.
Would something like that be dictated as part of the conditional rezoning, or would we wait and do that under site plan?
You could, what do you think? Definitely under site plan, it'll come up.
With respect to the hours?
Hours,
Yeah.
limiting the hours? if they
I mean,
wanna
it
change
can be part of the conditional rezoning or something as part of the site plan later on.
Yeah.
But they can't change that. They can't, if you agree to it as part of the conditional rezoning, they can't come back before the planning commission with the site plan and say, we've done our business plan says people want to be in at 5 AM or want to be in after 11. It's solid for what you're agreeing to.
Right, so it might be better for, through the chair, it might be better for consideration later that it's brought up now, because we want it to also be a successful business if it is in fact going in there, right? I mean, if you're approving it, we want it to be a viable
Plus,
site.
we don't know what those hours would be.
Correct.
exactly. But we do know that the citizenry would love to see it less intense. So just bear that in mind, I guess.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I guess a motion would be in order. Did you have any other comments before I go any further? Okay. No? All righty.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. McAnally.
I'll make the motion that we recommend approval of the conditional rezoning request, RZ 2025-005. This will be a recommendation to the City Council, Merriman School, Romulus Self-Storage to rezone 12.88 acres of 15303 Merriman Road from R1A Single Family Residential to M1 Light Industrial, subject to the revisions of the conditional rezoning agreement per the comments of the city attorney, consultant, staff, planning commission being addressed prior to review by city council.
Support. Support, yes.
I have a motion for Mr. McAnally, supported by Mr. Long, to recommend to City Council conditional rezoning based on the findings and recommendations of Carl Wortman Associates, dated March 6, 2026, and OHM report dated March 5th, 2026. And then any notes from anything that we talked about here or that was talked about by our planner? Right. Okay, and recommend approval of rezoning. This is a request for RZ 2025-005 Merriman School, Romulus Self-Storage, and it's to rezone 12.88 acres of 15303 Merriman Road. Parcel ID numbers 80-138-99-0005-000 and 80-138-99-0006-000. And we are rezoning, conditional rezoning is from R1A Single Family Residential to M1 Light Industrial. And let me see, what am I saying here? And, okay, and per the comments of the City Council, subject to revisions to the conditional rezoning agreement, per the comments of the City Attorney, the Consultant, Staff, and Planning Commission, being addressed prior to review by the City Council. Anything need to be added to that? No.
No, so we have a motion and a second?
Yes, we do.
Unless there's further discussion.
Any discussion?
Take a vote.
Clarification through the chair on the reading of the RZ 2025-003. It should be.
We didn't have 003, we got 005.
So the property is made up of two parcels. The school itself sits on 15303 Merriman Road, on the first parcel ID number, and then there's a little sliver to the north, which is the second. So they're both held in ownership by Romulus Schools right now. They've just never been combined. So they're proposing the whole, and this development is only the front part, or the conditional rezoning is only for the front part.
005.
Right,
Yeah,
not
right.
changing parcel A in your packet,
Okay,
just the front. The back is being conveyed to the city.
thank you.
Is that, any other questions, Mr. Long?
That's it.
I'll do it. Okay, let me take a roll call vote. Mr. McAnally?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Ms. Jamison?
Yes.
Mr. Gladfeldy?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Grova?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Let me make the motion. Mr. Balade?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. We are recommending to City Council.
Thank you, Ren. We look
Thank you
forward to
very
seeing you
much.
again.
Thank you. I think this is.
That's yours. Is it? Or is it mine?
This is. These are mine.
Oh, okay.
Madam Chair, before we proceed to the next section, I will have to excuse myself from the next public hearing discussion because I have a known conflict of interest. I have a personal and business relationship with the next petitioner for the Romulus Trade Center. So I will excuse myself, and when the discussion is completed, I will return to my post.
Do we need to vote on that?
Actually, from review of the bylaws, you do have to vote on it. So
Okay.
it's by majority vote.
All righty. Okay.
So what's been presented is a conflict of interest
Right.
by one of the planning commissioners. So if there's any questions or discussion, that's fine. If you want to accept the determination by the planning commissioner, you can take a vote.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Ms. Jameson?
I assume this is a monetary situation.
Yes, so since you want me to explain, so I have a nonprofit that we started about 5 years ago. It's called University Ambassador Building Bridges, UABB. And for the past 4 years, North Point has been one of our largest sponsors, which pays for Unity Day, which is the third day of the Pumpkin Fest, so everybody gets to eat free and jump on the bouncy bouncies because we get money from North Point and Amazon to fund our nonprofit. It is strictly for the people and the residents in the city to come into unity and work with the city. There is no money financially that goes to any of our pockets. We do everything we do for free. We just simply wanted to help the city to unite itself with the residents since we have 4 quadrants and it's tough. So when North Point came to town, we tapped them and they said, yep, they believed in what we were doing and the vision that we had, just as well as Amazon. So regardless to what statements I make, it does not benefit anyone either side. I'm one person of 9 of the commission, and it is a personal and business conflict with me to speak on either side of the fence, and I will not. But that is my personal conflict. So
Thank you.
vote as you may.
I will now take a vote. Does somebody have to make a motion and second it, or no?
Through the
Make a
chair.
motion to accept
Yeah, make a motion.
conflict of interest.
Right.
Support.
Support? Okay. Motion for Mr. McAnally, supported by Mr. Grova, to accept her conflict of interest. Mr. McAnally?
Yes.
Mr. Grova?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Gladfelty?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
You made the motion, didn't you? Mr. Boblade?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. You are excused. for as long as I've been here, I don't remember ever having to approve somebody that wants to be excused. I wasn't sure exactly how you do it. Okay. So many papers here. I got it right here. I'm just making sure I got all my notes, my papers. Okay. Do we need to take a small break before we go into public hearings? Does anybody? Or no? No? Okay.
Tough crowd.
Okay. Item 7, public hearings. We have RZ 2025001, Romulus Trade Center North. Applicant is North Point Development LLC, represented by Kyle Savoy. Is Kyle here? Is anybody here?
They're here.
Oh, I
Yes.
guess. You gotta raise your hand higher.
Yeah.
Okay, and you are, the location is Ecorse, Henry Ruff, and Beverly Roads, DP 80011990067001 and 800067004 and 800130013, which is 32630 Henry Ruff Road. And you're asking for a conditionally rezone approximately 108.48 acres from R1 R1A single family residential and C2 general business to M1 light industrial for the purpose of developing 2 industrial warehouse buildings and 4.5 acres of mixed use commercial space. And then again, this is just for a rezoning. Petitioner?
Mr. Enos is going to give a brief overview.
Oh,
in
sure, go
accordance
ahead.
with our-
I'm sorry.
right, and then I believe Mr. Kraus is going to
Yes.
refresh your memory on the Ecorse Road Corridor study.
Right.
That's part of this.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, Commissioners, residents. This is a similar use, but a lot bigger. Similar use when I say it's a conditional rezoning, but it's also got a caveat that if the Planning Commission does make a recommendation of approval to council, when this comes back, it will come back as a special land use. And that's going to require another public hearing, and that will require anyone within 300 feet of this property be notified of a meeting. And that's something in the future. So I'm not going to kind of go over the conditional rezoning process, and you get that. But I do want to step back a little bit in regards to what the city's been trying to do for Ecorse Road and developing and designing Ecorse Road. And this goes back several years, and Kevin is going to speak to that a little bit on the Ecorse Road study. But I want to talk to you about the other several studies that the city has done and surveys the city has done to get to this point. And most importantly is the master plan, or the comprehensive development plan, which the council and the planning commission most recently approved. And that looked at Ecorse as being a major corridor, or continue to be a major corridor, but needing improvements. And again, I'm going to let Kevin talk about that, but we knew that there was going to be some development interest on this route in the city. We also knew that we didn't want any development that happened on Ecorse to bleed northward up to Beverly. And so we've made it clear to residents and developers that, hey, we know Ecorse has to get developed with sidewalks and improvements, but we also know that we've got a significant number of residents north, and so if you are proposing something, you will not be permitted to access Beverly. And so North Point, which has been a good neighbor to the city for the most part with their existing plans and their landscaping. We know how they work, we know what they propose. They've come to the city with a conditional request to develop additional warehousing facilities. But they've also laid this out in a very detailed agreement to limit the types of uses that would be here. And these uses would be similar to the Amazon warehousing and other uses like that. This would not be heavy manufacturing, salvage yards. This would be 4 different types of uses: manufacturing and assembling, warehousing, printing, or research and experimental testing. So truck and outdoor storage, truck for just semi-truck trailer storage, and other uses that could be a little bit more of a problem would not be permitted as part of this conditional rezoning. And I know I sound like a broken record, but a lot of the questions that would be concerning or discussed are going to be part of that special use in that site plan. But the city worked closely with the applicant in regards to a variety of different things. One was that prohibiting any access for anything, even the employees, and certainly not the trucks. There would be no access route to Beverly. The main access would be onto E-course for employees and trucks. A couple other things is that we wanted to make sure that if you're driving down Beverly, that this building is not going to be right up on the road. And so the applicant is looking at almost 1,000 feet, 800 plus feet from Beverly south to where this building would be, where typically the ordinance would require 50 or maybe even 100 feet distance from our roads. But in this particular case, much of those trees and that woodland on that north side are going to be preserved, and the building itself would not be, would be more 800 feet back. One thing that we are going to be requiring is showing is what do you see if you drive down Beverly, and what do you see if you drive down E-course? And you can do that with technology these days. And we want to be able to make sure that those distances and that screening, you're not going to be able to see this building. The lighting is going to be not going to be visible, and it's going to meet ordinance requirements. And so the city took a lot of time and effort working with North Point, and they've been very willing to work with the city to say, hey, we want to meet your E-course road corridor plan, and that includes a mix of land uses, and that's what it is now. We've got residential, we've got multifamily, we've got commercial. They're also proposing commercial uses on the frontage of E-course. So the warehousing facility would not be fronting E-course. Those would be commercial uses, whether those are restaurants or pharmacies or whatever the case may be. Those would be limited to typical type commercials. They're also proposing, as part of this conditional rezoning, that they're preserving 15% of the trees on site. And those wouldn't be trees that wouldn't be developed anyway, say in the wetlands. There are a lot of wetlands on here. But the ordinance says 10%, you only have to protect 10%, the applicant's protecting 15%. In a conditional rezoning, you can propose things over and above what the ordinance says. You can't propose anything less than the ordinance says, and that's an important concept. Because in this particular case, if it is the zoning's approved, they have to meet the special land use standards, they have to meet the site plan standards, but they also have to meet those requirements that we talked about, and there's many of them, but I think most importantly, and certainly probably for many of our residents here, is prohibiting access to Beverly, having that 800 to 1,000 foot setback from Beverly for where this building is, having significant trees and significant robust landscaping to screen this use. And so that's how we got to this point. The master plan, there was a lot of discussion on that comprehensive land use plan that talks about what we would like to see in the city of Romulus based on surveys and committees and steering groups. In this particular area, we're looking at a regional mix. And what does that mean? Well, that's a variety of different uses that the city could approve through the rezoning process if it works. And again, what does that mean if it works? One thing, at least in my opinion as your planner, is that it doesn't work if access is to Beverly. It doesn't work if there's not significant screening or landscaping on this use, because this really this is going to be, I think, a catalyst for a lot of other uses that are going to be coming down E-course, and improvement of E-course and residential or pedestrian access up and around there, because there are significant ideas in the E-course study for improving that. And I know our engineers have taken a look at that and talked about, okay, if this use increases in what they call level of service, which is a way of measuring how much traffic, if this use causes a significant problem with level of service, the applicant, Northwood, again, has to pitch in towards the improvement, whether that's street lights, lane widening, or whatever the case may be, to improve that. So there's a lot to swallow in this agreement. Again, I'm comfortable with the majority of this, but again, our counselor has to take a look at that before and if it goes to city council. And I know Kevin wanted to chat a little bit about the E-course road corridor plan, and that's tied together with our master plan, our strategic plan, and our visioning plan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Enos. Good evening, Commission. Good evening, members of the public. Kevin Kraus, Director of Community Safety and Development for the City of Romulus. Anytime we have a development along the E-course road corridor study, I try to come back to the Planning Commission or any body that is examining some sort of action along there and kind of just review what we've started as far as a planning process about 2 years ago. And what we heard very loud and clear during the first term from the mayor was that E-course was problematic for the community. It was problematic for a number of different reasons. It didn't have enough housing. It didn't have enough width in the roadway. There was bottlenecks. There was congestion. There's no walkability, sidewalk, non-motorized pathways. There was a laundry list of items along there. There was old abandoned infrastructure with telephone companies and telecom companies, and there's ditching and water and fragmites and cattails. You name it, we pretty much heard it along the E-course road. So the mayor charged me about 2 years ago to say, okay, how do we tackle this? How do we start looking at it, and where do we start? So I, as the director of the TIFA board, I went to the TIFA commission. I asked them to commission a E-course road corridor study. And this primarily was, one of the top of that list for us was congestion along the E-course road corridor. So the study started out primarily as an infrastructure study. How do we look at the roadway? How do we increase walkability pathways? How do we increase safety features at all of our major intersections and crosswalks and make it safer for the community and really start to connect the community? We know that our community is subdivided because of critical infrastructure. We have the airport in the middle of us. We have 275, I-94, two major railroads. A number of different reasons kind of subdivides our community. And when we sit here and talk about community, we got to find ways to reconnect it. Both physically and through programming. So that's what we focused on when we started this. But we heard very clearly as we started exploring this that there was a number of other topics that ran underneath that. Primarily housing. What do we do about housing along E-course road? Retail. What do we do about retail along E-course road? How do we widen it? How do we add some safety lanes? Because we have a school that's up on E-course road that if anyone's driven by there, including myself, we've seen kids running across E-course road and playing Frogger in front of semi-trucks and box trucks and anything else you can think of. And we have some safety issues. So we wanted to tackle that. So this very quickly grew to a larger visioning process for E-course road. And what we found out very quickly is along E-course road is really a bypass. It's an industrial bypass for a number of different communities. And it really connects Southfield Freeway all the way out to Willow Run, right? E-course road runs straight across and connects everything. And we know coming through our city, you can get off of I-94 at Inkster, and you can go straight across E-course road and bypass everything and get back on 275. And it happens day in and day out. So how do we start creating a pathway that is better planned and better suited for the city of Romulus? And it's supporting the things that we know the community wants, but supporting the things we know business wants. And it's a careful balance. So what we found was across E-course road, we have every single type of zoning in our city's charter. with the exception of residential high-rise, and that's primarily because it's in the middle of an airport, landing runway. So we have every single opportunity to zone across Ecorse Road. And that becomes problematic because when a business wants to develop, we're doing it next to residential. When a subdivision wants to go in, we're doing it next to a school or a church, or sometimes next to a business that knows they're gonna hear complaints about a drive-through window or a loudspeaker, taking orders late at night. So there's these conflicts that occur. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to find creative ways to make sure that we can develop this Ecorse Road corridor. We can do it in line with what we're hearing from our stakeholders, from our residents, from our businesses throughout the community. So we set up basically 3 days of study sessions. We sent letters out to the community in the different areas along Ecorse Road. We invited stakeholders from the business community. We had Wayne County, we had Aerotropolis, we had SEMCOG. So we invited all these individuals in, and we had some sessions over at the Romulus Athletic Center. Our boards and commissions were invited, our city council was invited, and we had 2 days of listening. We took all of that information in, and we compiled it into a report, and basically said, okay, we can do some things across Ecorse Road, and we can do it through smart planning. We can use screening and buffering, extended setbacks, and there are a number of different tools to be able to continue to develop in that area and move forward. But two of the big areas that were identified in this Ecorse Road corridor study was what we call the antenna property, or the radio station property. For those of you that have lived here long enough, you know that it was a radio station back in the day. And then also a piece of parcel of land or a neighborhood that's at the southwest corner of Ecorse and Middlebelt. Those two parcels or plots or tracts of land were identified as problematic in the Ecorse corridor study. And I'll start with that neighborhood at Ecorse and Middlebelt. That neighborhood at Ecorse and Middlebelt, years ago, a lot of the homes were purchased by the FAA, they were demoed, there's a bunch of empty lots in that area. Some people chose to buy and move, some people decided to stay, but it was all purchased with FAA dollars through the airport. That property could never be redeveloped as residential again. So as those individuals are selling their homes and they're becoming vacated or they're passing and they're moving on, what do we do with that property? How do we redevelop? We can't do it back. The FAA says no, we won't allow it. It's in the sound polygon from the airport. So what do we start looking at that piece of property for, and how do we develop it moving forward? Something to still consider. We don't know the answer to that yet. We're still working on that solution, and we'll continue to do so. And then the other piece of property was the antenna or radio station property. Property's been on the market as residential for over 2 decades. It's very problematic because it's primarily, there's a good chunk of it that's wetlands. There's a drain that runs through it. There's Henry Ruff Road that cuts through it. So as far as development from a real estate standpoint, we've met with several realtors that do develop residential, and it's very, very tough to get any pro forma to pencil on that property for residential because there's no infrastructure there right now. So to be able to put in the roads, the sewer, the wastewater, mitigate wetlands, move a county drain, and change a road is too high of an expense for residential development. And I've met with probably no less than 6 different residential developers that ran it through their performa systems and can't get it to pencil. So those were the 2 major ones that we looked at. And, we went through that process, and, that led us here today. We also looked at housing very, very intensely across Ecorse Road. We know that housing is a state problem. It's not a Romulus problem. It's not a Wayne County problem. It's a state and national issue right now as far as affordable housing. And we went to task and commissioned a housing study. We partnered with MSHDA, did a whole city housing study, utilized that study and pushed it forward to Carol and to Mr. Enos in the planning department, which was incorporated into the master plan adoption that we just did recently. But basically, we're continuing to work on this Ecorse Road problem and find solutions. At the end of the day, in order to solve these problems, we need dollars, right? Dollars and cents. So one of our partners who's here this evening as well is Chris Girdwood from Aerotropolis, And Aerotropolis is one of our partners, and we work with Aerotropolis to find creative solutions to infrastructure problems that come with housing an international airport. And what we've done recently is we've partnered with the city of Taylor, our neighbors to the west with Van Buren, and we've created an LDFA across Ecorse Road. And that LDFA was approved last Thursday by the Aerotropolis Board and will be going to the State of Michigan Treasury for approval. And it'll allow us a funding mechanism with no increases to taxes at all, but it allows us a funding mechanism through the state to start capturing dollars to fix that infrastructure on Ecorse Road. Ecorse Road isn't a city road, it's a county road, but it's a huge problem for the city of Romulus. But it's not a huge blip on the county's radar, right? Because they have the entire county to deal with. We have just one portion of it. So we're continuing to work with that, but that funding mechanism is going to allow us to be able to go to the county and say, hey, listen, we have our share of the pie. We need you to come to the table, and let's start looking at a 3 or 4 phase process of widening Ecorse Road, which we looked at, and with the exception of, I think, one parcel on Ecorse Road, we have enough to widen Ecorse Road to a minimum of 3 lanes. And then as you approach intersections, to continue to have turn lanes and flare lanes around areas like the school and the church or Amazon or other developments. So we're going to work. We're hoping to hear more on the LDFA here in the next couple months and be able to continue doing that. But that's the overview that we've really had with Ecorse Road. It started about 2 years ago. We hosted planning sessions. We heard input, business community, residents, council, boards, commissions, stakeholders in the community. And we identified the issues. We've put a funding mechanism in place, and we're right at that point. We're about ready to cross that finish line and get it in the end zone to be able to actually start seeing some physical work being done on Ecorse Road. So like I said before, whether it's planning or zoning or city council, anytime we're considering something along the Ecorse Road project corridor, I like to come and revamp that because it is a significant corridor in our city. It houses every zoning option that we have, and we have to continue to look at how do we thoughtfully and through a process develop that road and develop the parcels that are available along that road for the greatest community benefit.
Thank you, Kevin.
Madam Chair, the next part of your procedure is the Planning Commission Secretary can read
Yes.
in any correspondence received.
I was just
and it's in
just looking at that.
Good.
Okay.
Over to you.
So I know I'm seeing Mark standing here. They still have a little bit to do before they get to you, sorry.
Okay, I'll be reading the correspondence that have been sent in to the Planning Commission. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in no particular order. This is from...
Yes, you do. Excuse me, yes, you do need to open
Wait a
this.
minute, before you do that.
Okay.
Yep, did you open it when you read it,
No.
Ann? Okay, yeah, open it up.
Okay,
I thought you opened it when you
No, no, I
read in
didn't.
what it was, that you were
okay,
opening it.
we'll step back a little bit. And I'm going to open the portion of the agenda that is for the public hearing. Let the record show we have on file an affidavit of first-class mail. We will ask for people to come up and speak when we get through some of these letters here.
So, the process is, when she read the summary in, that opens the public hearing. We just had staff reports and an
Right.
introduction. Now we're gonna read in public comment. The applicant will then make their presentation, then the public will be able to come up and talk.
Okay,
We're following our bylaws
go
tonight.
ahead, Mr. Secretary.
Right, thank you. So this is a letter from Derricka Johnson to Carol Mays, City Planner, Romulus Planning Commission. I'm writing as a resident of Fairways at Gateway to formally express strong opposition to the proposed zoning map amendment RZ 2025-001 that would rezone approximately 108.48 acres located at 32630 Henry Ruff Road DP number 80-011-99-006-702, 80-011-99-006-704, and 80-11-99-0013-000 from R1A Single Family Residential and C2 General Business to M1 Light Industrial for the development of 2 cross-dock industrial warehouse buildings. As outlined in the published notice for the March 16, 2026 public hearing, rezoning this property from residential and general business classifications to light industrial represents a significant and fundamental change in land use that is incompatible with the established character of our residential community. The Fairways at Gateway neighborhood was developed and marketed as a residential area, and homeowners made substantial financial investment with a reasonable expectation that surrounding zoning classifications would support and protect that residential environment. Converting adjacent land to industrial use will have direct and foreseeable negative impacts, including but not limited to increased heavy truck traffic on local roads not designated for sustained industrial freight movements, elevated noise levels associated with cross-dock warehouse operations, including loading, unloading, and overnight activity, increased air pollution and particulate matter from diesel truck traffic, light pollution from large-scale industrial facilities operating beyond standard residential hours, degradation of overall neighborhood aesthetics and quality of life. These impacts collectively threaten to reduce residential property values for tax-paying homeowners, diminish property values, create financial hardship, while property tax obligations remain unchanged. Many residents have invested their life savings into their homes, and a rezoning of this magnitude undermines the stability and predictability that zoning protections are intended to provide. Additionally, the transition from R1A and C2 to M1 is not a minor adjustment, but a substantial escalation in intensity of use. The proposed development introduces a use pattern that is materially different from residential or general business activity and is inconsistent with the expectation of existing homeowners. While economic development is important, it should not come at the expense of established residential communities. The long-term consequences to homeowners must be weighed equally, if not more heavily, than the short-term benefits of industrial expansion. For these reasons, I respectfully urge the Planning Commission to deny the requested rezoning and preserve the residential integrity of the Fairways at Gateway community. Thank you for your consideration. Respectfully, Mr. and Mrs. Monty McClay. Okay. This was sent in from Detroit Regional Partnership, March 6, 2026. Support for proposed Romulus Trade Center North conditional rezoning application. Dear Planning Commission members, on behalf of the Detroit Regional Partnership, we respectfully express our support for the proposed M1 conditional rezoning in support of the proposed Romulus Trade Center North project as proposed by the applicant, North Point Development. This site of the proposed rezoning has been a part of the VIP by DRP program, an initiative where DRP, its civil and environmental teams, along with its public and private partners, identify underutilized sites in the region and assist with early due diligence and feasibility studies in the hope of successfully bringing them to the starting line of development. The aim of this program is to drive economic development in the region and bring jobs and revenue to the local economy and government. For decades, this site has sat underutilized and has struggled to attract development under its current R1A residential and C2 general business zoning classifications. Despite being actively marketed for sale, it has remained underdeveloped and has not attracted viable private investment. The property's prolonged stagnation underscores the need for a modification to the existing zoning classification of this site. This proposal represents a true catalyst development for the city and the surrounding corridor. By introducing new Class A industrial warehouse space, the project addresses a well-documented regional need. Vacancy rates for modern industrial buildings across Southeast Michigan remain low, and demand from logistics and manufacturing users continue to outpace supply. This development positions Romulus to compete effectively for that growth. North Point, DRP's civil engineering teams and the city have worked collaboratively to craft a responsible site layout that preserves existing wetlands and forested areas where feasible and incorporates natural buffers to adjacent properties. Their approach reflects thoughtful planning and a commitment to minimizing impact to surrounding land uses. The economic benefits to the city are significant. The project is expected to generate more than 300 jobs and produce tens of millions of dollars in new property tax revenue over the next 20 years and beyond. Importantly, the site is outside of the Tifa district, meaning these revenues will flow directly to the city's general fund, strengthening long-term fiscal stability. North Point has established a strong reputation as an industrial developer in Michigan, known for being a reliable community partner, delivering on commitments, and driving meaningful economic growth. For this reason, we respectfully encourage your support of this transformative investment in the city of Romulus. Signed, Maureen Krause. Number 3, from Detroit Region Erythropolis, dated March 9, 2026. City of Romulus Planning Commissioners, Romulus, Michigan. Support for proposed Romulus Trade Center North conditional rezoning application. Dear Planning Commission members, the Detroit Region Erythropolis would like to express our strong support for North Point Development's proposed M1 conditional rezoning and special land use applications in support of the proposed Romulus Trade Center North project. North Point's development Romulus Trade Center development, Wick and Vining Roads, which is nearing completion of the final phase of its construction, has grown jobs and driven capital investments to the city. This RTC North project looks to continue that success in delivering growth to the city and region. The project is expected to generate more than 300 jobs and produce tens of millions of dollars in new property tax revenue over the next 20 years and beyond. Detroit Region Erythropolis, as a nonprofit economic development corporation, has worked with the city of Romulus and neighboring communities in the county to plan the vision for the ECOS Road corridor, which is a critical thoroughfare for development. Erythropolis has worked with Romulus, Taylor, Huron Township, and state government to establish an additional LDFA district, which is projected to capture $15 to $30 million for critical infrastructure improvements around the corridor. This Romulus Trade Center North project is a critical component of this vision, which will serve as a catalyst development project that would make improvements to ECOS Road and the corridor possible. North Point's thoughtful site plan for this development ensures natural resources are preserved and impacts to adjacent land uses are minimal. North Point has established a strong reputation as an industrial developer in Michigan, being a proven community partner and ensuring that promises they have made have been kept. Their investment in the region has been a driver of economic growth, jobs, and tax revenue, helping the region thrive. In summary, we encourage your support for this transformative development for the city of Romulus. Signed, Christopher Girdwood. Number 4, from Romulus Middle School. To whom it may concern, this letter is to recognize and describe the continued support that North Point Development has provided to the Romulus Middle School community, specifically the 8th grade class. For the past 3 years, North Point Development has generously supported the Romulus Middle School 8th grade class picnic through financial contributions that help make the event possible for students. Their contributions have assisted in providing food, activities, and a memorable celebration for students as they prepare to transition from middle school to high school. Beyond their financial support, members of the North Point Development team have also volunteered their personal time to be present at the event. Staff members have attended the picnic to grill food for students, helping create a welcoming and enjoyable atmosphere for everyone involved. In addition, their team has taken the time to interact directly with students by playing basketball and engaging in activities with the boys, helping build positive relationships and strong community connections. Their commitment to showing up year after year demonstrates North Point Development's genuine dedication to supporting youth and giving back to the community. Their involvement has helped create meaningful experiences for our students and has made a lasting impact on the Romulus Middle School 8th grade class. We are grateful for their continued partnership and generosity over the past 3 years and look forward to their ongoing involvement in supporting our students and community. Sincerely, Haley Scherer. Number 5. To the members of the Planning Commission, I am writing to you as a resident and not as an employee of the City of Romulus to formally express my strong opposition to the proposed conditional rezoning of the property commonly known as the Tower property, located north of Ecos, west of Henry Ruff, and south of Beverly Roads, from R1A, single-family residential, and C2, general business, to M1, light industrial. My views do not reflect that of the city. As a resident invested in the long-term stability and character of Romulus, I believe this rezoning represents a significant threat to our neighborhoods for the following reasons. 1. Incompatibility with residential character. Changing over 100 acres of land currently designated for residential and light commercial use into an industrial hub creates an irreversible industrial creep, in quotes. This project places heavy logistics and 24/7 warehouse operations directly adjacent to established homes, fundamentally altering the quiet enjoyment of our private property. 2. Environmental health and quality of life impacts. The scale of the proposed Romulus Trade Center North will introduce persistent hazards that threaten the well-being of our residents. Light pollution, 24/7 operations require high-intensity security lighting. This results in significant sky glow, in quote, and light trespass, which disrupts circadian rhythms, interferes with sleep, and strips our neighborhood of its residential character after sunset. Noise pollution. Beyond simple nuisance, the cumulative noise from HVAC units, air brakes, and the constant clanking, in quotes, of trailer hitches and backup alarms creates a documented health risk. Chronic exposure to such industrial noises is linked to increased stress, elevated blood pressure, and sleep fragmentation. Diesel fume exposure. The influx of hundreds of idling or slow-moving semi-trucks will dramatically increase localized concentration of of particulate matter and nitrogen oxides. These diesel exhaust emissions are known carcinogens and are linked to respiratory illnesses, particularly in children and the elderly. Property value depreciation. Data from similar large-scale logistics development shows that residential property values within a half-mile radius of industrial zones often experience a 11% to 15% valuation discount due to these persistent environmental externalities. This includes data from North Point developments in Pennsylvania and Illinois. 3. Preservation of zoning stability. The Planning Commission has a responsibility to protect the integrity of our residential zones. Our community deserves the stability of knowing that a residential zoning will remain residential and not worry that large-scale developments will encroach into our backyards. Conclusion. I urge the Planning Commission to deny the request for rezoning RZ 2025-001 Romulus Trade Center North. We must prioritize the health, safety, and property rights of our Romulus residents. Sincerely, Kayla Hubbard. Okay. Last but not least, number 6, this is from Cassandra Brown. Dear members of the Planning Commission, I'm writing to formally submit my comments for tonight's public hearings as I am unable to attend the session in person. As a resident of Fairways at Gateway, I would like to express my strong opposition to the proposed rezoning for RZ-2025-00, Romulus Trade Center North. My concerns regarding this development, including but are not limited to a significant increase in traffic congestion, heightened noise pollution, the potential for reduced residential property values, and an undue strain on our local infrastructure. I kindly request that you accept this comment into the official record and consider the negative impact this rezoning would have on our community during your deliberations. Thank you for your time and for considering my perspective on this matter. Sincerely, Cassandra Brown.
Thank you. Next, we will have, make your presentation.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Werner with North Point Development. Address 2111 Woodward Avenue, Suite 1100, Detroit, Michigan. Thank you all. Really thank you to the city of Romulus for all of your support over the years. We've been a very active member of the community for 5 years. Every promise we've made at our Romulus Trade Center project at Wake and Vining, we've upheld, and we continue to portray to you that we promised to do the same on this development. Thank you to the residents for coming out tonight. We look forward to hearing all of your feedback. We listen, and we've spent extensive time in the community trying to listen. So I would say before we get started, I wanted to kind of run through the process and the time we've spent on this project today. Kevin Kraus did a good job of discussing the E-Course Road visioning process. We're coming today with a conditional rezoning agreement. It's not your typical M1 project. This is clearly a mixed-use project that follows the intent of the E-Course Road visioning process and the master plan amendment that was recently approved. We've reached out to roughly 100 residents in the area, mostly those who could potentially be in the general area of the project. We've received a lot of feedback. We've spent extensive amount of time with the city, and we actually attended those E-Course Road visioning process meetings back in January and February of 2025. We've listened to what the city's vision is, and we've carefully come up with a site plan that I think meets the exact intent of the master plan and the visioning process. So of the residents we have met with, when they see our immense setbacks and our forest buffering, those conversations end up ending well. So we understand a lot of residents here are north of Beverly Road and have concerns. We think at the end of this presentation, you'll have a better understanding. And if you have any issues, we'll continue to listen. So Romulus Trade Center North is the next phase of our Romulus Trade Center South development at Wick and Vining. Many of you may be familiar with North Point from our 5 years of working together. We have roughly 450 industrial clients. A lot of the brands you see here are repeat business, and many of which we do business with in Michigan and are very interested in the city of Romulus. You'll find that our firm has a national reach. In addition to that, we have an office downtown Detroit. We have a local presence, and as mentioned, we're active here. Spend a lot of time with folks, whether they're residents or folks on the staff of the city of Romulus. Our development efforts to date have created 111,000 full-time jobs, and we've invested $20 billion in economic development impact. At North Point, we pride ourselves in living into our core values, the most important one being living generously. We spend a lot of time in the communities in which we develop in. Most of our competitors are short-term land flippers. Go get a property zone, build the building, and sell it and leave. You know, as you know, you've experienced with us, we're very present and we accept feedback. If there are any issues with the project, we're here to be accountable, listen, and react accordingly. Our Romulus journey has been a very fulfilling one. This slide here highlights some of our community involvement. We've sponsored and volunteered at the Pumpkin Festival and the UAB Unity Day. Every year since 2022, if you look in the bottom right, there's some team members from our office. One of the highlights of our year each year is coming into the community. We'll do volunteering at the event, and we bring our families. A lot of us have young families and really enjoy, that event. It's sort of the highlight of the year for the office. We also spend time at the 8th grade end of the year celebration. They do a picnic where we grill hot dogs and hamburgers. And this year I almost got dunked on and was very sore after a game of basketball. So we enjoy that as well. It's just good to give back. And then this year we heard that 5 Points Church roof blew off, and we put together a project to replace the roof. So those are the things you get from North Point. We try to be a pillar of the community, not just a developer. You'll see we also installed the Welcome to the City of Romulus sign. So when you see the large garrison-sized American flag off the Vining exit, it was a TIFA-funded project. We didn't fund it, but we spent extra time, working nights and weekends to manage a project like that. And that's, other examples. We are active members of Chamber of Commerce, Aerotropolis, and then we supported the Veteran Wreath Memorial Initiative. So wanted to provide an update on Romulus Trade Center South. We get a lot of comments from the public that why these buildings are empty. There's not a lot of activity at Romulus Trade Center. Well, that's just not true. We think we've put together thoughtful setbacks and screenings so where people can't hear or see the facilities that are operating. We have created 720 permanent jobs there. We're roughly 70% complete with the industrial construction portion. We're working on the 5th building right now. It's in total will be a $240 million investment into the community. The project is projected to provide $92 million of tax revenue. This far exceeds what we thought it would be when we first got the project approved 5 years ago. The industrial businesses service a wide array of industries, including food and beverage, airport services. We have an automotive tenant there. Siva Logistics handles roughly 2/3 of the Ford F-150 Lightning car. And then we also have an energy business with DTE, and then we have packaging solutions and moving services. If you drive by the project and you're heading off the Vining exit, take a right on Wick Road, make your way to the Merriman retail corridor, you'll see construction. Expect to see construction for the next several years. We right now have the largest electric vehicle charging lot in the state that's under construction just to the east of Tesla. Besides that, we've sold four of our retail lots. We expect to see a hotel break ground. There'll be new quality retail amenities all along Wick Road connecting to Merriman. That as we promised when we first came to Romulus 5 years ago, we said we'd create connectivity there. And we will. So it's under construction. You can see it today. We're excited for the City of Romulus Public Works project to go to the south of the retail corridor as well. This project is a huge impact on the TIFA budget, and we're excited to see that project move forward. It'll create an additional traffic there too, which should be a catalyst for more retail. So here's some photos of the Romulus Trade Center. I think if you're wondering what the aesthetic of the Romulus Trade Center North might be, you could look at these buildings. It'll be very similar. This slide here, we've got a video. Yeah, so this video here sort of demonstrates how the screening that we did at Romulus Trade Center South. The top left was the rendering, bottom right is an actual video. You'll see the trees and berming, all those plantings create a buffer. And quickly, only after 2 years, I think this was one year after being planted, you can't see the cars parking there. You can't see the trucks in the truck court. And again, we've received many comments from people in the community that they think these warehouses are empty. In reality, there are 720 people working there. So that shows like anything you see tonight in a rendering for Romulus Trade Center North, we will hold our promises. There's evidence of it here. So that's the purpose of that slide. So we talked a lot about the project. I think many people here are interested to see what the site plan looks like. Here it is. So as mentioned, this is not the first version. We've been working on this project since the Ecorse Road visioning and listening to what issues could be present, and we've been making adjustments. So some of the issues we've heard from the community and through the Ecorse Road visioning process and the master plan would be Beverly Road traffic. We've heard from many folks that that's a significant issue, and this project creates a massive buffer. Robbie, my colleague, will go through some additional slides. You'll see that you can't see the buildings if you're north of Beverly Road. We've created enough setback, and we're preserving the forest via conservation easement where you won't even be able to see these buildings. So it's a very minimal impact to Beverly Road. And we're not maximizing the site by any means. This is very limited site coverage. You'll see the next another issue we heard was Romulus. The master plan is adjusting this to RC, and in addition to only industrial, the community will want to see public amenities. So we have 4.5 acres dedicated towards retail. And in the conditional rezoning agreement, you'll see that we have fiscal penalties really holding us accountable to develop retail. The traffic counts are very good on Ecorse Road and think it'll do very well. So we have no problem doing that. And then lastly here, just want to reemphasize that the plan you see in the conditional rezoning agreement falls within the city's vision that has been approved. We've been very careful to get community feedback and review the master plan, the Ecorse Road visioning process. We believe this plan kind of falls squarely within the intent of the city. I'll turn it over to my colleague here for some more detailed presentation.
Good evening, commissioners. Appreciate your time, as Mark mentioned, in the partnership that we have with the city. I will be talking more basically on the 20-plus site plan iterations we've done, the technical approach we've had, the constraints, and walking through that, and eventually we'll get towards,
Name and address for the,
Robbie Nguyen, 2111 Woodward Avenue, Detroit.
thank you.
Thank you. So I'll go through more of the technical approach that our team has taken as we laid out this site and the 20-plus site plan iterations based on feedback and also with the actual site constraints that exist today. So just to rehash what the agenda states, so the site is currently single-family residential, and a small component of it is also general business. And so Kevin and others have mentioned this site has been marketed for nearly 2 decades and has not seen any substantial development or private investment. The broker actually stated that North Point was the only client who came with a plan over the last 20 years as he's been marketing this site. And so, as Mark has mentioned on the previous slide, I won't go through it all for the sake of time and hearing more feedback from the residents in the area. We will go through what our site plan is, take the feedback, and continue to work on that. But we believe that with the conditional rezoning agreement, the limitations we're placing on ourselves without the city asking us to do so will match the intent of the E-Course Road Vision Study and the city's master plan. So Mark went over the site plan a little bit, but I'll get a little bit more into the weeds for the landscaping, no pun intended there. And so, what we're doing here is along Beverly Road, it's 530 feet setback until you reach pavement. So that's what we're proposing on our site. As John has called out, the city's ordinance is 50 feet is the setback. It's actually 30 feet. So along Beverly Road, we're 17 times greater than what is required by ordinance. Along E-Course Road, we're 13 times greater of a setback than what is required. And our smallest setback is actually 2 times greater on our east side. And that's until you hit the pond. That's still not hitting pavement. It's just a storm detention pond. With our plan, not only are we preserving 15% of the existing tree canopy, we're also looking to plant 1,300 additional shrubs along our facility and 743 trees to supplement this. As I'll go through with the renderings later that you'll see, we also implemented berms. So we are very strategic with our berms, our landscaping, the existing vegetation that we'll keep intact so that residents do not see our project, whether that be the noise pollution, which the ordinance is for light, is that these light poles can only be 14 feet tall. We will abide by that. And you'll see in the renderings as well, you won't see the building, especially to the north, so that you won't see the lights as well, because we'll have full cutoff fixtures so that it doesn't pollute light into the sky. Along with that, at Romulus Trade Center South, we do have multi-use paths along E-Course Road. We will implement that on this side as well. We will have a minimum 5-foot circulation sidewalks within the site. Our employees will have amenities. The end users we do not have today, but the employees themselves will have amenities such as benches and tables, like you saw in the pictures that Mark had shown previously. And then after discussion with the city, there's a sidewalk project that the city is leading along Beverly Road. We would make a sidewalk connection proposed from E-Course to Beverly Road to make that connection with the city's plan on the sidewalk. So what does it look like? If you guys have been along Vining, you will see what it's going to look like. So the city has actually passed, in that area, it's called the Vining Overlay District. And so it has certain aesthetics that a building must have, more than just your, maybe a unpainted, rusted metal shed. There's building material requirements and aesthetics. We will look to implement those same aesthetic standards as we did at Romulus Trade Center South at this Romulus Trade Center North campus. Along E-Course Road, you'll see we have a simulation that will drive you along E-Course Road. We'll have canopies on the building facing the dock walls for further screening. And then one thing to point out here too, and John alluded to it, is our building heights here, we have it shown at 49.5 feet as our max height. This will require us to come back for a variance through BZA. So we have to go through the BZA process to get a variance for that. The Vining Overlay District allows up to 55 feet. We are less than that. Just for reference, the radio towers that are on site today are roughly 150 feet. So it would be 50 feet or a third of what's there today. And I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, so if there's any questions as we kind of bounce through that, we can come back to these slides at any time. Mark talked about our commitment to the mixed-use development of the parcel frontage along Ecorse Road. So the conditional rezoning agreement prohibits the use of industrial at this particular area and will be reserved strictly for retail purposes or commercial purposes. So the target that we're pursuing here would be someone like a Tim Hortons, a coffee shop, or a fast food, or fast casual restaurant. So those are the targets that we have here. We limit ourselves that no industrial development can happen here. As mentioned with the setbacks previously, those are the confines of the industrial project itself. So on the technical components of our project, so as Mark alluded to with Beverly Road, we will not allow truck traffic or auto traffic to connect to Beverly Road. Part of our commitment to that as well is proposing the vacation of Henry Ruff Road, which we will have to go through a separate procedure for that. But that furthers our commitment to make sure that there's no direct access from our site to Beverly Road. Along Beverly Road, this proposal, there's roughly 10 or so residents along this route that we reached out to and spoke to.
Oops.
I would say 2 of the residents we were able to talk to were indifferent, and then the remainder were in favor of our proposal. There's really 3 things that were kind of occurring that they're favorable to, which is 1, no access to trucks on this route. There has been pass-through, this Henry Ruff Road has been used as a pass-through route for others where, you have someone on a dirt bike just driving through, revving along the road, unwanted cut-through traffic, but also you're having illegal dumping happening along this stretch of the road. So whether it's tires, trash, mattresses, you name it, there's been concerns with people dumping next to folks' homes. So we would eliminate those 3 concerns with this plan. We would propose back what we call a hammerhead design. So this allows a turnaround at the end, similar to a cul-de-sac, but it will allow fire and police, life safety services to pass through this route, but strictly for their access only, not for any of the users that might come to the site. So talking about our vehicle movement plan. So the next slide is a continuation on this, so I'll get to it and zoom in a little bit more. But with the vacation of Henry Ruff Road, we still look for 2 accesses to the site. Those 2 entrances would come along Ecorse Road. The main entrance of the site is proposed to modify the existing signal that Amazon has currently on Ecorse Road. So we would add a 4th leg to that approach. And then we would have a secondary access just west of it. And I'll go through to the next page a little bit more. But you'll see that the optimal route that we've identified here is heading out of our site, going west on Ecorse Road and taking a left on Vining until you hit 94. It's roughly a 3-minute route, very efficient, very desirable for users in the market to have that quick of access to the interstate and a clear access to the interstate. So zooming in a little bit, we've touched on this, I'll say it one more time. There is no access to Beverly Road. We are 530 feet off that. There is no proposed access there. We will put the turnaround with a gate for emergency access only on Henry Ruff Road. And then you can see that we have the signal approach with our main entrance towards the center of the site on the south, and then the secondary entrance that would be just west of it. So I'll talk through kind of the highlights of the traffic study and what we've seen. So believe it or not, the 4.5 acres of the mixed use or retail use for the site accounts for 80% of the traffic in our traffic impact study. 80% for 4.5 acres. That is the cost of doing business. If we want retail in the community, that's the traffic that it brings. Now, I will say we were conservative because we don't have a retail end user today. So what we've done is what we see as a typical, retail use or square footage is anywhere between 2 to 5,000 square feet. We are showing 2 on this plan here and what you saw previously on a different slide. So we've actually increased it a factor of safety of 33%. So our traffic study has increased the factor of safety 33%. Since we don't know who might come, we want to make sure that we're overestimating so that any impacts that might be flagged by the traffic impact study could be accounted for. Also, after review with the traffic counts, through signal modification and timing adjustments, the level of service continued to operate at a level of service of D or better, which is required by ordinance. So we talked about how we're not going to have traffic going to Beverly. We talked about how we're not going to allow traffic to continue on Henry Rough Road. What are we doing for E-Course Road? How are we going to mitigate any of impacts that were from our project on E-Course Road? Well, what we're doing is, obviously, we've added the additional leg to the signal there. And on the secondary entrance to the west, we've also included deceleration lanes. So folks are driving down this road much faster than 50, 55 miles per hour. We know this. But it allows time for our site, or our people visiting our site, to hit the deceleration lane so that it maintains traffic flow. Also, with our grade setbacks that we proposed on the site, you have 700 feet of queuing into our site or staging onto our site before they have to enter E-Course Road, to make sure that we don't have any congestion of folks trying to enter the site or leaving the site. It can all be maintained within the property itself. One of the constraints for the site is wetlands. So there's approximately 21 acres of wetlands that are jurisdictional to the state of Michigan. We have to coordinate with the state of Michigan with an impact plan. Really, one of the big issues here is that you have a drain cutting through the center of the site, causing our impacts that are unavoidable. So I will talk on that as it's a county drain. On the next slide, I'll talk on that a little bit more. But the proposed mitigation plan that we have right now is we will have 3.9 acres of impact as the plan is currently designed. And we will do a 1.5 to 1 ratio restoration mitigation plan on site and dedicate the setback along Beverly Road into a conservation easement. So there's concerns that, well, what happens, as we just heard before, what happens if North Point sells? Well, we're long-term holders, but if we did, we're going to dedicate that land to the state of Michigan into a conservation easement so that no one else could develop that piece along Beverly. Previously referenced the county drain that was by dissecting the site diagonally. We're working closely with Wayne County to talk through this. We've had preliminary conversations to talk through the drain that exists there today. It's not functioning as intended. It's not capturing storm flow adequately. And so part of our proposal that we have suggested is to divert some of the flow in the watershed to Black Creek Drainage District, which that goes towards Romulus Elementary School. That's where the flow would leave our site. We are proposing to the county to remove some of the drainage area that's going to the elementary school and actually sending it through the Freeman drain, which is what you see here. The Freeman drain is in blue, I'll go back towards the northeast portion of the site. That is the other drain that leaves the site and heads to the elementary school. So we're looking to capture upland stream, or upland storm, and also relieve downstream storm concerns in the community through our project. And we think this is a good, viable step to do that. At least we've, in conversations with the county, that seems like a route that is worth exploring further as we release more engineering. We'll remain engaged with the city of Romulus, their DPW staff, talking through that. But we hope this alleviates some of the concerns as it relates to stormwater in the area. As promised, here are some of the renderings that we've had. This is a bird's eye view of the site from Ecorse Road. So you can see, I won't go into these, but these are all generally from Ecorse Road. You might have one from Henry Ruff right there. Great. What does that really mean? So we did more renderings here where we did composite images, as someone alluded to. Technology is really awesome today, where you can go out with your phone, take a picture. It's geocoded to your location. We can use AutoCAD and drop in our building designs to replicate what it would look like in real time or in real life, not some super cartoonish image like you just saw with the bird's eye view. So on Henry Ruff and Ecorse Road, you can see the Ecorse Road, we definitely make substantial changes and updates there. We add in the route to the signal as previously mentioned, and then on Henry Ruff Road, you can see here where the building would be placed on the corner. And then we have views from, it says Sandpaper, I apologize, it's Sandpiper Drive. This is hole 12. Hole 12 in Beverly Road here. We have our existing view, and we have our proposed view. I think it's worth noting that we didn't wait until it was springtime or summer when the leaves were on the trees and it was, a bunch of greenery. We took these photos in the dead of winter when the leaves fell off. We wanted to understand what it looked like, what you were going to see, because we understand the type of development we're proposing. There is residential. We had that in mind when we designed the site of what it would look like. So on Beverly Road, you can see here the red outline for both these, hole 12 or Sandpiper Drive, and then Beverly Road. We had to draw in a red outline of what the building would look like because you could not see it from the existing vegetation we'd keep on site. Perfect. Yeah. So we have a roughly 2-minute video here. We're near the end, I promise. But roughly 2-minute video here, just showing the drive along Ecorse Road heading eastbound. Here's that first western entrance, the deacceleration lane, something like a Chipotle.
Wish.
And then coffee shop. Here's the main entrance. And this is near the corner of the site as well, right here. With added berming. I do want to note it's 55 miles an hour. We drove it just now at 10 miles an hour. So, we tried to really show what it would look like. If someone's driving the speed limit, though, it's going to be much, they'll pass it by much faster than 2 minutes. Okay. I'll pass this over to Mark to finish the presentation here. And as mentioned, I know I went through it relatively quick. If there's more questions about some of the slides, we can go back to it and talk through it in more detail. Thank you.
Thanks, Robbie.
All right, we'll be quick here. Just wanted to go through some of the project benefits and the tax impact to summarize the project here. So on the north, or on the top of this page, you'll see the Romulus Trade Center South project impacts. You know, as mentioned before, it's $92 million increase in tax revenue over 20 years. This project will represent $41 million of tax revenue to the city of Romulus. You know, property values should increase from heavy revenue to the school district. School district is receiving $26 million over 20 years for this project. The county gets $5.6 million. The city, this is outside of the Tifa district, so this goes to the general fund. The city general fund will receive $7.1 million over 20 years. And then finally, you know, fire and police are going to receive $2.5 million over 20 years, which should help improve the the way of life for Romulus residents, improve public safety, improve public infrastructure, improve public amenities, and improve the school district. So, project benefits. If this project is approved, North Point promises to the community to provide a thoughtful site layout and design that minimizes the impact to adjacent land uses, namely residential. We promise to be a good neighbor to all the residents here tonight and all the residents in the area. Tax revenue will increase of $41 million over 20 years. There'll be a minimum of 300 jobs created. One thing we heard consistently in the E-Course Road visioning process is a lot of Romulus residents have to travel for work, and to get more rooftops, you need more jobs in the city. This opportunity presents that with 300 high-paying jobs. And we will promise to align with the master plan and put this site into productive use. And we will provide a commitment to public amenities, as mentioned, with the retail corridor and then the pedestrian accommodations with the 8-foot path along E-Course Road and other sidewalk connections. This represents a activation of a site that's extremely underutilized, reduces blight, reduces dumping, and it serves as a catalyst for funding the LDFA tax capture, which will result in a funding mechanism to improve E-Course Road. This, as mentioned, this falls in line with a lot of the city's initiatives, with the state's initiatives, including the LDFA district, the E-Course Road vision study, any master plan land use updates, and then the city's mission to activate underutilized parcels. That's what you get from this development. That's all we have. Welcome any feedback or questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right now, which you've all been waiting for, I'm going to open it up to the people in the audience. If raise your hand when you're acknowledged. Give us your name and address.
Good evening. Lisa Nassau, 32178 Bruce Street in Romulus. So me and my husband have been there for over 5 decades. We live, we face the field, the little slice, I call it my slice of heaven, is right behind our house. About 4 years ago, a house was built there, and we were a little upset, but we've gotten used to that. But it's still our little slice of heaven. So I'm here to respectfully ask you to reconsider changing the zoning of these 108 acres. So, like I said, we have deep roots in the community. Bruce Street, my husband grew up there. We bought a house there 34 years ago. We've both lived in Romulus our entire life. So for many years, when we looked out, that property, it was always a pumpkin patch, and then after that, it was just, open green fields. It's peaceful. It's open. There's tranquility. We can sit in our backyard and just listen to the, just nature. Henry Ruff isn't a very busy road, but my husband, he drives on it every day. He likes to take that slow way home just to kind of relax, But that's why we chose to live there, is because of the environment and the quietness of it. And replacing the landscape, with 2 large cross-dock industrial warehouse buildings would dramatically change the character of the area. The facilities would bring, traffic, noise, lighting, all these activities that we have not experienced for many generations. And it would permanently alter the environment surrounding our homes. And for those of us who have invested our lives in this community, the proposal feels like a dramatic shift away from the residential character we were promised when we chose to make our home here. So I respectfully ask the Planning Commission to consider the long-term impact the zoning change will have on the residents of the Heron Hills Estates, directly east of the proposed building, and to protect the quality of life of the people who already live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, right there, yep.
Thanks. Chris Girdwood, 11895 Wayne Road, Suite 101A, Detroit Region, Aerotropolis. Just here in strong support of this development. The folks at the North Point Development Team in Aerotropolis have been working together for 5 years. I remember meeting them just 500 feet down the street at the Aerotropolis office, talking about the vision for the Romulus Trade Center, which now employs hundreds of individuals, and they brought hundreds of millions of dollars to Romulus. And back then, 5 years ago, we talked about the core issue is too many Romulus residents leave Romulus to work. And by building centers of employment within the city, you allow residents to build that live, work, play atmosphere. And I think the vision 5 years ago as the Romulus Trade Center was also to bring retail to the E-Course Road corridor. And you've seen that with Sheets, the hotel, and SuperPro's retail development. And I was so impressed with the team to bring retail to Romulus Trade Center North as well. And so I think when you look at how you can build a community, having residential, commercial, retail, industrial working together, that was the goal of the E-Course Road corridor plan that Director Kraus talked about. And as I sat in those visioning exercises, Aerotropolis thoughtfully looked at how the tax base contributed to a functioning city, and not the residents bearing the full burden of the tax base, but having a mixture of uses, given the airport sits in the center of the community. And I think what you see in this development is an enabling mixture of both retail and light industrial development. And lastly, Aerotropolis works directly with the city. It was referenced a few times, the LDFA. Essentially, what Director Kraus and team and I were working on was to come up with anywhere from $25 to $35 million to make E-Course Road what it should be from border to border. And the Aerotropolis LDFA is a tax capture mechanism that would allow a good portion of funding to rebuild, to rethink E-Course Road from east to west, including the drainage that's required to make sure it's safe. And so, in strong support of the project, in strong support of the North Point Development Team, given that they have such a strong track record with the existing Romulus Trade Center, and would love to see Romulus Trade Center North move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair, just a quick reminder, through the chair, over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, just to make sure we're being respectful with everybody's time, I just wanted to remind that there is a 3-minute time limit for everybody, and if they could also please speak into the microphone.
Are you keeping track?
I can't.
Yes. Hi.
Okay. My name is D'Antonio Thompson. I live at 5907 Crystal Lake Drive, and I'm actually right across from the proposed development in Fairways at Gateway. I really want to put dollars and cents to this proposal. I've lived here for 25 years, had a new development or a new home that was built in a new development, paid $280,000. Today, my property value is $330,000. So in 25 years, my property value has only gone up $50,000. Every time I hear about a new development or a new plan proposal for the master plan for Romulus, it always centers around light industrial, trucking, or office. In 25 years, there have never been a major retail that has been built in Romulus. There has never been a major grocery store. There has never been anything. I have literally traveled around the country to every single airport in the country. We're talking about from Florida all the way to Alaska. Romulus is the only city in the United States that doesn't have a major food chain, grocery store, or retail within 5 miles. For 25 years, you guys keep, saying that it's coming, but the only thing that we ever get is light industrial, trucking, or office. And I think we deserve better. We continue to keep on paying more for taxes than anyone else. We deserve better.
Thank you.
Evening, my name is Alvin. I talked to y'all already. Now, the thing I got is, I've been calling y'all, the city or whoever, for about 7 years now, about that same drainage ditch that he's talking about, that Black Creek. That thing is causing my land to shift, okay? Nobody has done anything. Y'all say call the county. They come out every 2 years. We'll be back out here with city engineers. They sent them. We'll be back in 2 weeks. That's all I ever get. Okay? But now, you guys can allow them to come out here and build something. Well, I already got something built and you can't even fix it. That don't even make no sense. My land, freaking, I'm scared to put another fruit tree over there because I put bricks up. And now they down the ditch. Same ditch y'all talking about working on, right? Black Creek? It's gonna be what till you build a reservoir pond, right? But you're gonna need the drain, right? Excuse me.
Do you want to come up and speak in the microphone?
Oh, if you, okay, they building something, they got a pond, I know about those reservoirs. Now you're gonna have to drain that thing somewhere, and it's gonna be right by my property, right beside it. But nobody's unclogging it, so there goes my barn. It's gonna get washed the heck away. If y'all start running stuff down through there, that thing, they won't even come and clean it.
Sir, are you addressing us or are you addressing?
Y'all and them, because they coming both. Because I've called the city and all they keep doing is telling me to go to the county. It's just bounce around. So every couple of years I call back, they show up, I wait another 2 years. For about 6 years now, 7 I think. But when they put that up and was talking about putting the use, I know that all those buildings have a drain. The reason I know they have them because I go sneaking in and fish in them. I know that. But if they build anything, see, y'all need to send somebody over there that know what they're doing because the county won't do nothing. My property is like this, on that corner right at the drainage ditch. So if they coming out there, they need to come over there and fix that. They need to clear it out. It's full of trees. And the ground is sinking. It'll never go out. To that school you're talking about, it'll never go up because it won't go out because it got to go up. So when y'all come fix that city, the city ain't gonna do nothing. The county ain't gonna do nothing. Now I'm waiting on y'all.
Excuse me, sir.
I'm done.
You're 3 minutes up. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Geraldine Tigner, and I live at 32870 Sandpiper Drive. I've been living there for 25 years, and I co-sign everything that D'Antonio talked about, as well as, not to be redundant, I want to co-sign everything that the individual resident at Fairways of Gateway who wrote letter number 1 that you read. She's articulated very well all of the concerns that I have as well as so many other individuals here have. We purchased, built property at Fairways of Gateway. It's still developing, as I'm sure you all know. We have over 500 residents living there, and it's still developing. We are concerned about our property values. We are concerned about noise pollution, the environmental impact of this development. Now, I've seen the Romulus Trade Center South because I ride past it on my way to the Romulus Athletic Center. It sits in an isolated area, okay? It is not in the midst of, right in the middle of residential properties. So there is a big difference, a significant difference. I applaud the development company that's done the work of creating the Romulus Trade Center South. You've done a good job. But we just don't want to see the north development sitting in the midst of our residential development. As I said, there are environmental issues. Right now, we've got wildlife that we see, coyotes, deer, coming onto our properties. Where do you think they're going to go after the Romulus Trade Center North is built? So these are things that need to be thought about and addressed. I don't know if any of you who sit on this planning commission live at Fairways of Gateway or the development that's even older than Fairways of Gateway, bordering Henry Ruff. That development has been there almost 50 years. So consideration needs to be given to the residents who are taxpayers for the city of Romulus. We need to be heard. We need to be listened to, and everything we're saying that we have concerns about needs to be taken into consideration. I'm a business person. I understand the need to create sustainable industries. It's great to hear that there will be employment opportunities if they materialize. But again, there's no assurance. I don't know if there's been a commitment made to guarantee a portion of whatever jobs are created to be designated to qualified residents for the city of Romulus.
Your
Okay.
I'm sorry, your 3 minutes is up, so.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I'm about to end, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next?
Gentleman in front.
Gentleman in front? No, she's coming up.
Good evening. My name is Janet Harmon. I live at 32841 Augusta Court, inside of Fairways Gateway. I've been living here for over 25 years, and I've listened to all of the proposals and what you plan on doing. I heard the letters of support from all those who do not live in Romulus. And then I also heard the proposal of how great it was to give some kids some hot dogs and hamburgers, something I've been doing for 25 years, okay? Also, you talk about the $41 million in 20 years is absolutely nothing, okay? You talk about giving to the education. I heard that ever since I've been here, how much state-of-the-art equipment that the school system has. And our kids is in the worst school system ever. I know as a retired social worker and how I put a lot of volunteer hours in Romulus Elementary. So all of this, and what about this pipeline that you want to put toxic waste going through our sub and everything? We don't want that. Everybody who came here with a proposal, nobody lives in Romulus. We have Birmingham, everybody's coming from downtown. I'm from Detroit. I love Detroit. but put it in your own backyard. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm John Mayfield. I live at 33315 Sandpiper Drive in Fairways. And I just got one question. I got one procedural question. I know there's a lot of people that want to talk. Okay, so my question is, it goes to the conditional rezoning agreement and rezoning plan. And so since the conditional rezoning agreement and rezoning plan does not grant a special land use, which they're gonna need because, as you know, the land use parameters are 80,000 square feet, and they want 856,000 square feet. And it also doesn't include the site plan or the variances, if they need variances. So my question is, will the approval of the conditional rezoning agreement and site plan be put on hold until the other processes are ready for approval?
This is just for the conditional rezoning. They will have to come back before us, if that's approved, for special land use, for the site plan, for any waivers, and to the BZA for any variances. So that is another whole separate part of it.
So I guess just to reframe it.
Okay.
Okay, so what you're looking at now, what they're asking about now, is that gonna go to the city council?
Yes.
And then you're gonna have another piece of it that's gonna address the site plan and the special land use plans?
Right, they would have to come before us
Okay,
for
and
that.
so is it typical that the city council will hold on to this recommendation until they get the recommendation for the other pieces?
No, through the chair. So the conditional rezoning is to rezone the property to make it available for them to do the project they want to do. At that point in time, once it's rezoned, then they come back to the planning, so that gets all done. So the conditional rezoning gets done, then they submit their plans, their special land use, and they come back here for a public hearing before the planning commission, and it goes through with the more specific plans that they showed you a lot of renderings
Okay, so
tonight.
everyone here will have another opportunity.
Yeah. So right now, it's just the rezoning, so they're able to do what they think they want to do, and then they come back with the actual plan.
So conditional rezoning, we make a recommendation to city council. You have another opportunity to go to city council where they actually approve that. Then it comes back to us for special land use, public hearing, and site.
Yeah, right. We only make a recommendation
Yeah,
to city
no,
council.
okay, so yeah, that's fine. So this
And
is
city
one
council
part.
actually will either
City
deny or
council's
approve.
another opportunity, and then you have another opportunity once you start talking about the site plan, and then another opportunity for the special land use.
Special land use and site plan are tied together usually at the same time.
Okay.
But it does go back to council as well. The special land use will go back to council.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Barbara Stanis, and I live at 33182 Bay Hill Drive on the north end of Fairways at Gateway. And I understand that your focus was Ecorse Road, but what I'm concerned about is I saw nothing that shows what I'm going to see driving down Beverly. All right? I would like to see what it's going to look like at the bottom end of that property, all right? So that the area itself retains a sense of country, so to speak, all right? So if you guys can do something like that, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you. This gentleman and then you, ma'am.
Yep, my name is Wesley Stevens. I live at 6535 Gloria Street. So I commend y'all for, I commend them for their work in the community. It's great. But during their presentation, I didn't hear anything about what you'll hear south of Beverly, east of Henry Ruff. That's where my subdivision sits, here around Hills Estate. They didn't mention whether we would see lights, whether they would stop anything. Only thing we mentioned is leaving Henry Ruff open for emergencies. And you know, people don't care about emergencies. they're gonna do what they wanna do. So
Right,
that's not gonna
right.
stop them from going up and down Beverly Road unless
Right.
you actually close it. So
Right, and
I wanna hear what they're gonna do to make sure that when I sit on my porch, I don't hear it. Because today I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. And I wanna know what can be done about the wildlife, like the lady mentioned, because it's gonna be plenty. We already see everything, foxes, deer, coyotes, skunks, raccoons, we see everything. So all that's about to start coming into our neighborhood. Is y'all gonna help with that? Is anybody gonna help with that? Is there gonna be assistance? You know, I didn't hear any plan for Huron Hills Estate, so that's why I wanted to mention
Sure.
that. So hopefully they can give me an answer for that.
right, thank you. Ma'am?
Hello, my name is Coretta Goff. I'm at 6123 Swan Lake Drive. I don't know anything about all of this. I'm not gonna pretend like I understand. But what I would like to know is, in the proposal, I saw a restaurant, I heard Chipotle. I don't even like Chipotle, number one. I wanna see, I've been here for 20 years, and the development that we live in, bringing families, children, babies, toddlers, I wanna see more emphasis put on our children, because they are, I know it sounds corny, our future, but I want to see more. When they say development, industrial doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't make me say, oh, wow, that's a good idea. I want to see more emphasis put on our youth, because they're the ones who need something to do. We don't really have any community centers, something that really can make the children say, hey, I'm glad to live in Romulus, okay? So I was looking at the corner of Merriman and Beverly. I'm like, what are they doing with that? And then they're Van Born and Merriman. What are they doing with that? It's like inside of the Gateway community, but they're nothing but bushes and brush, and it's just ridiculous. And an old fence. It's like, we can't even fix that, because when that comes up in our community meeting, not here, we're told, oh, the old developers own that land, so they went bankrupt, and so it's just gonna sit there and look like that. We need to do more, I think. I wanna see more foundational things being done before we get big out here in this big grandiose scheme of things. I do like sheep, wonderful chicken wings, y'all didn't know. But at the end of the day, I wanna see more for the youth, because we're not really focusing on them. We're talking about restaurants and industrial lands, and it just doesn't ring my bell. And I love the idea of a grocery store, a chain. That would bring some jobs in, seriously. All right, that's all I got to say.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Paris. I reside at 33063 Sandpiper Drive. So my backyard will be on looking at the project. So the distinguished gentleman over there, he spoke about the from the sidewalk of Beverly to where there would be, I think you said 800 or 4,000?
Yeah.
But then Robbie said like 500, so there's a discrepancy. So what
The building is 800 feet plus back. The parking lot is 500.
The parking lot is 500 to the roadway?
Yes, center of the roadway.
Okay, that's still kind of close. So could you make the parking lot further up? Because like I said, no matter what, we're going to be looking at it. And people that's driving down the aesthetics, driving down east and west of Beverly, you know, because that's, at this point, and we done got this far with you gentlemen, it's pretty much a done deal. What you guys do, you're just working out the details, you know, and I'm just looking at reality. So get what you can from Robbie and his company, you know. The levy we had for police and fire, which is a big expenditure from the general fund, like I think it was 4.0 mil levy. That's for police and fire. Get some more money for our police and fire. So we want to put the burden on the citizens from these companies that want to come into Romulus. And I'm just making a statement now. So get what you can from, because it's a done deal. Get what you can from these companies so we can live better and take the tax burden off of us.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Danny Pickett. I live at 33564 Bay Hill Drive. I also got property on Bay Hill Drive. When you come out the back way out of Fairway Gateway to Beverly Road, I have property right there. So my question is that when I bought that property, I got 1.4 acres, and it go all the way back to the radio station towers. I bought that on the intention that that area would never be developed back there. So that's what I'd like to be addressed at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Cheryl Adams. I live at 33632 Sandpiper Drive. My concerns, and it looked all nice, the presentation was beautiful. My concerns is like everybody else. My taxes on my house, the devaluation of possibly my house, okay? Not only that, I have a pond behind my house where I have ducks, I have beavers, I have all types of animals that come around there. Now, there was a screen that was put up that said something about sandpaper. Was that sandpiper?
It was supposed to be Sandpiper, yeah.
Okay. There needs to be some type of clarification on that, because I couldn't understand specifically what was going on there.
Yeah.
So if there's a drain or something that's going on there, how is that going to feed into possibly my pond, which is the golf course, okay, area, okay? So I don't know what's going on. I kind of thought Romulus was the type of place that was more interested in developing homes for families instead of constantly dealing with big corporations or companies coming in and want to do something else with storage warehouses or whatever. Did that go to the wayside? And all we're looking at is now is trying to figure out a way how we can get more money to do with what? Because our fire department's houses don't look great. Okay? We don't have any downtown Romulus situation going on. So if you're going to do something that's going to benefit the people in Romulus, and not just somebody else that wants to come in and get money from somebody else.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Edwina Perry, 33347 Sandpiper Drive. First time speaking out loud like this, so excuse me if I make any mess ups, but I've been Fairways at Gateway for about 14 years. Went to Wick Elementary, graduated from Romulus High School, and there's always been a promise of something coming to Romulus. I've heard casino, I heard from, I guess, 94, there was going to be some type of retail for us. And again, like others have stated, nothing has come to pass. Again, like the lady said, beautiful presentations. The gentleman came to my house to kind of explain more about everything that they wanted to do. But I have two babies that I want a neighborhood, right? I travel out to all the nice places like Birmingham and Royal Oak, and they walk and they can go to parks and travel. Our park right on Beverly, which I know is gonna get updated, so thank you. But I want a neighborhood. I don't want to have my kid running around the neighborhood or riding his bike and I know there's truck traffic. That doesn't make sense to me. How am I gonna let my kid be out? Would you want that, knowing that all the truck traffic, we're already gonna have it because they already own what all of Biden it looks like. So I would like for the council to consider younger families coming in. Again, we bought this property when values were down. We bought it for 120 grand. Our property is past 200 now. I would hate to go backwards. And I really hope that you consider the younger families that want to come in, because I love Romulus the way it is. It's not a rat race like Ford Road. It's not a rat race like Dearborn where you got to feel it. You're just going in and coming out. You know, I would love to see something like more retail space. What about our grocery store? Why do I have to go to the Kroger up the street when it looks like it's about to shut down anyway? Can we have something in our neighborhood? We don't want to get a Walmart, Target. We paying Target still, you know. But yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No one else? Is she coming up?
My name is Larissa Walker. I live at 32275 Henry Ruff. And that puts me right in the middle of what they're talking about doing. And when I saw some of the plans, they're coming right in the center of our community, which means that my neighbor's backyard is right at their business. I'm right across the street. They're talking about closing off Henry Ruff. You can't just close it off. It's a dead end now. And I just sit there and I'm listening. You know, we talked about everything, the wildlife, where their wildlife is going to go. Well, okay. I mean, I love Bambi, but I don't want Bambi in my backyard. I have them in my backyard right now, every single day. Every day I've got wildlife in my backyard. And they said they're going to try to make some type of allowances for them to be somewhere. But, you know, they're not going to be closed in or blocked in, because at some point they're going to find that little opening and they'll be back in the neighborhood. They'll be over in the subdivision. They'll be on our property. And I just thought maybe, I've been here for like what now, on Henry Ruff for 7 years now. I've been in Romulus for 15 years. I just thought that maybe the city would do something to really help the residents. Just like everyone has been saying, let us have a supermarket that we can go to in Romulus instead of having to go 5 or 6 miles to get to a store, you know. Care about us as residents, and let's do something for the people. That's all I would like you to do. Thank you.
Toby Benson Walker, 33316 Sandpiper Drive. And I just would like full transparency, because it seems like with this discussion and the last discussion, you're allowing the residents to air their grievances and let you know how it's going to affect us because we live in these neighborhoods, and then you just approve it. So it seems like a waste of time for us to tell you what we want in our neighborhood, and then you go ahead and say, oh, I understand, but we're going to do it anyway. So where's the full transparency? Why are we allowed to tell you what we want, and if you're working for us, it's not working for us?
Joseph Burton, 6225 Inverness Court, on the golf course. I live on the golf course. I moved to be on the golf course. Finding an e-course is the perfect place for their business, not the golf course. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Tamara Tillerson, 6177 Inverness Drive. I know we beating a dead horse, but I gotta beat it with y'all. I just moved to Romulus 3 years ago. When I moved on the golf course, I had so many expectations. But what I didn't know is that Romulus was so industrial. I moved into my community, it's beautiful, but I didn't know that I would have to leave my community to go to the grocery store. I didn't know that there were no restaurants in Romulus. So everything I do, I have to leave and go to Canton, I go to Westland. Nothing that we do is in Romulus. So I agree. If they have all this money to come and make our city better, do something that's going to benefit us. I'm very disappointed.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? If there's no one else, then we will move on.
Close up.
Pardon me?
You can close out the public hearing.
No. Don't close it out till, right here.
Close out the public comment.
Right, okay. I'll open it now to the commissioners.
Yeah. Correct.
Madam Chairman,
You can, you know, through the chair, you can close the public hearing because there is not going to be any public talking to the applicant or anything. And this is
Okay.
the part, these bylaws need to be.
I'm just going by the
moved.
sheet.
Yeah, that's
Normally
fine.
we
But you
close
can,
this.
you can close the public
Okay.
hearing and then address questions to the
Okay, thank you.
petitioner.
Okay. We will close, I will close the public hearing now, and now we will open it up to the commissioners for questions. And you had one?
yeah,
What
not
happened?
it's a comment.
What happened to our,
I've lived in this community for 63 years, and every mayor since this city has been incorporated has said, we need retail, we need a grocery store, you can't even buy a pair of socks in Romulus. And it's not like any city administrator or any city council or any mayor has ever turned away a grocery store or a residential development or anything else. If they won't spend the money and come here because there's an airport that divides your citizens from each quadrant, and there's not enough citizens in one area to support a grocery store, that is the problem. We've been fighting it for years. Nobody wants to spend millions of dollars to have it fail because nobody will shop here, because if you live on this side of the city, you're going to Taylor. If you live on this side of the city, you're going to Belleville. And you're not gonna go to where the store is they wanna put in. It's been a fight that we've lived with since I've been here.
right.
And I understand the frustration. I wish we had other stuff. I've always wanted more than what we have. But it's not like anybody's turned it away, I promise you that. Now, I've been here 24 years on the planning commission, and we've never turned anything like that away.
Right.
No, doesn't matter who the administration was. They know what people want. It's just how do you convince it to happen? You struggle and you try. And some of the things we're doing is to bring more people to the community to hope to force other things to come. Maybe it's gonna work, maybe it isn't, but leaving a vacant piece of property vacant to produce nothing, in my mind, is really kind of wrong. I feel like we need to address some of these questions and concerns that people have, and I think we need to work towards that. But to listen to the frustration of the citizens' comments and how they wish we had more and we need and deserve it, I'm with you, 100%. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
Through the chair, yes. Understandably so. I've been a resident, longtime resident of Romulus also, and like Commissioner McAnally said, we've always been advocating for same thing you've been advocating for, stores, retail, and everything else. But if no one is willing to invest those funds to come here, we have to look for other ways to generate income and to try to bring more residents to the city for work to try to make things happen so we can improve the living conditions and the general fund for the city so we can make things happen. Not to say that warehousing is the answer, but if those developments are coming here and spending the type of funds that they are to help our infrastructure, and like the E-Course Road corridor and our master plan that we have in place, I feel as a commissioner, that's gonna help in the long term. You know, I've been, like I say, I own a home here 50-plus years, and I feel the frustration also. So give it time, and hopefully, you know, the decisions that we're making in a conscious way to help will prevail. So thank you.
Thank you. And who- Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
through the chair, I also just want to make a few comments here. I don't know who amongst the both of you was speaking, but you made a comment saying to get more rooftops, you need more jobs. I really don't understand that comment, because 31,000 people do not live in the city but walk in the city. Can we get housing for those first? And I'm not saying you should do it. Again, I'm just talking. You know, addressing that comment that was made. One of you also talked about live, work, play. It's live, work, play. That means live first, then work, then play. The other thing also, top of my list is retail. When we rezoned the North Point, you promised us retail. We gave the allowance for retail, but somewhere in the description of retail was a hotel. And because it falls under retail, so how do I know a hotel is not going to pop up where you consider retail? I don't know, because hotel also falls under retail. If at all we get to that point, I would like for there to be restrictions on what we want to accept as retail for that place. Everything you've developed is regional business. The residents, including myself, all of us, we want something for the community. I remember when either your founder or your CEO came and he said, we've heard you, we want to do something for the community. Yeah, sheets came, and that was just about it. Every other thing was regional. Again, I'm just making comments. You don't have to respond, but I would say take what everyone has said back to the drawing board and see what you can do.
Well, first of all, that piece of property that you're asking us to rezone is residential, and it's been residential for years. It's been R1A for years, and no one has come forward, no developers come forward and said, hey, we want to put a subdivision in there. You know, they go over there by Gateway, they put it over by Gateway, they put it over here by Wayne Road, but nobody wants to do anything with that piece of property. And we have people in the city that basically part of their job is to go out and recruit and try to get what we're looking for, try to get grocery stores. And the problem with grocery stores is we don't have enough rooftops, number one. And number two, is that they, for the most part, have a radius that they work under. And if you live within that radius, you can go to that store. And I think it's about 8 or 10 miles. If you live within 8 or 10 miles of that store, that's where you're gonna go. And they count your rooftop for that. But to ask for a major store to come in here, I mean, we have tried and tried and tried and tried. And I'm sure Kevin will, I think he's one of the people that have gone out and been trying to find stuff.
If I can, through the chair, I would say there probably isn't a week that goes by that I don't have a discussion about a grocery store in our city. I have met with all of our major grocery outlets, Kroger, Meijer, Amazon Fresh, we've tried Aldi's, we've tried Walmart, smaller stores, Kroger, smaller stores. And the issue that we run into as a community, we all want to be able to say, we want to go to a grocery store in our community. And I understand that 100%. I agree with it 100%. But the grocery store that we had in our community in the downtown district no longer fits the modern day operating model for grocery stores. It's too small. The modern day grocery store to be successful needs to be anywhere between 70 and 75,000 square feet, which is your typical Kroger or Farmer Jack or one of those when they were around. And they have to be able to do about $1 million of sales a week, which means that every cart that goes through is $100 that checks out, right? And I've done the GIS layering and the map layering. If you look at where Romulus is, and it's not that we don't deserve a grocery store, it's that we're already saturated around us. And those overlaps, we put the boundaries of Romulus on the map. The grocers don't look at those boundaries. They look at circles around a point on the map, right? So your mega centers, your Walmarts, your even some of your Targets that have groceries now, but your Meijers, your Targets, your Walmart mega centers go anywhere between 6 and 8 miles. So if you look at Van Buren to our west and Taylor to our east, we have a Taylor South, we have a Meijer location there, and we have a Walmart location at the north. And then over on this side, we have not only Walmart, but we also have a Meijer, and then we also have an Aldi's that's stuck in there, and we have an Aldi's also in Taylor now. So when you start drawing those concentric circles of where they draw from those areas, they overlap Romulus, right? So everything from Romulus goes to the east or goes to the west. It doesn't financially make sense for a business to put a grocery store in Romulus because they're drawing from their own stores or they're drawing from other business, which is, only gonna get a portion of it. Because the smaller stores, not the mega stores, the smaller stores only go between 4 and 6 miles, basically. So like your typical Kroger, the one that's up on Michigan Avenue. So I've done the geo-mapping, I've done the overlapping, I talked to all of these individuals. I've tried going out of Michigan and attracting grocers who haven't come into the Michigan market yet and say, hey, there might be an opportunity for you to come into the market and draw, start making a name for yourself and drawing from these other businesses. Unfortunately, we haven't had success with that. We've looked at small size markets, so not like a full-blown grocery store, but a fresh fruit, fresh meat, fresh deli type market, where we could do something smaller like that in the old space in the downtown district. I had a $100,000 grant committed from the Grocers Association. I had MEDC to $250,000 committed to that project as well. We can't get the landowner to do anything with the property. He wants $700,000 for the piece of property. Every time somebody makes him an offer, now he wants $1 million for the property. So the challenge we have is we have very, very attractive opportunities in Romulus to get some of that retail development, but we have people who own the property that don't have capital to develop it, or they have a vision and they have capital but they don't have the vision to do something with it. And my challenge most of the time is connecting A to B and trying to come up with that solution with it. And I'll use the Merriman Road property that we talked about earlier tonight. That's a win-win-win for the community from an economic development standpoint. I know there's community impact that everyone has input on. From an economic development standpoint, that's a win-win-win, and I'll tell you why. That's a blighted piece of property that citizens have to look at and that has been broken into numerous times and stuff is stolen out of it. It is a liability on our school system, on their ledgers and on their books. It's an opportunity for a business to come in and set up shop and grow in our community and provide jobs in tax base to the city. And it takes a piece of property that was tax exempt from the schools and now makes it taxable for the city. So it's a win for the schools on decreasing liability. It's a win for the city on our tax rolls. It's a win for a business to come to Romulus, provide jobs, provide opportunities in Romulus. I understand that there's community impacts just like this project as well. What I would like to say on this project is I wish every developer that I worked with on a daily basis listened to the community like North Point does. And I know this project probably isn't perfect. We can make it better, and I'm confident that this team will listen to what was said here tonight and will go back and work towards making this project better and address as many of these concerns as they have possible. Because If I had a choice, I would use this as the example to show other developers, this is the standard that Romulus deserves and expects if you come to our city. Because too many times when the decision has been taken out of our hands, when the FAA and Wayne County and Department of Transportation took decisions out of our hands, we got an airport. When Eagle and the EPA and the Department of Environmental Quality took decisions out of our hands, we got a toxic injection well. And now we're seeing the same thing with the detention center in our city, right? So these, number one, I thank every citizen that came to this meeting tonight and voiced an opinion and voiced your concerns. I wish I saw more of this, and I implore you to engage at a higher level in the community. My office is always open, and always please come and discuss these things. We advertise all of the listening sessions that we do in the community. If there's something you want to see, please come and let's talk about it in depth. But I'm going to tell you that we've made steps. There's a reason why there's an identification in the national index as a food desert, and we are identified as a food desert. We're not the only community. There's many other communities just like us that have the same problem. But the reality is, and this when I sat down with Walmart, and I'm not a fan of Walmart, but when I sat down with Walmart, they told us our business model is that 90% of America can live within 10 miles of our store. And if you think about that, 10 miles around here, you are no further than actually it's less than that, but you're no further than 10 miles from a grocery store in Romulus, which is about anywhere between 8 and 10 minute drive. And again, I think Commissioner McAnally said it, if I build a grocery store on the east side of the airport, everyone on the west side is still going to Van Buren. If I build one on the west side, everyone on the east side is still going to Taylor. And that's just part of the structural geographic challenge we have as a segmented community because of infrastructure in our city, because of the airport, our railroads, our expressways, and it's a daily challenge for us, a daily challenge. To the commissioner's comment on hotels, I've said a long time, I don't think we're overdeveloped with hotels, we're under demolished, right? All of our hotels are at the end of lifespan. They're all 30, 40, 50-year-old buildings. They're crumbling. They've passed the flags down from the premier hotels, and now we have some individual owners that don't have the capital to maintain them. Our TIFA board, our city council took excellent action at the roadway. The roadway hotel was a huge draw on our public safety resources, and they took action to demo that hotel with assistance of the building department, and we have commitment from the hotelier that purchased the property. They're building another hotel there and looking at some sort of commercial frontage for more shopping amenities, more stuff like that. These larger hotel spaces that are sprawling hotels, like the old Holidome that used to be there, the old Holiday Inn, where it used to have a pool and a recreation area and all that stuff, that's the thing of the past. Those aren't how hotels operate now, but it's a prime opportunity to demo it, build a smaller hotel, but put in amenities for our community that they can go shopping at and have places to go eat and whatnot at. I'm hoping, the Wick Road corridor is coming. You guys don't see stuff coming out of the ground quite yet. I see the background. Jeff sees the background because we see the plans that are coming in and everything that's going to be coming out of the ground in the spring. If you go by next to Sheets, they've already started scraping that site, putting the detention in. We have the Tesla mega charging station. They just did another press conference about it the other day and discussed that. Those are the things we're looking at to draw to that area, to increase the traffic count, to then be able to go to those restaurants and say, we can put an Applebee's here, or Chili's, or a microbrewery, or whatever it might be. But be rest assured that day in and day out, my office, myself, and my staff are trying to find every creative way possible to bring those amenities to the city. And I'll take it one step further, because this was an aha moment for me. Those site selectors, when they're looking at places to put their restaurants, they look at data and they just flip through, they're in an office and they're flipping through papers and they're looking at data. And if you look at Romulus in those data sets, it shows that we have a ton of restaurants and that we're oversaturated with restaurants. And I talked to somebody on the phone and he said, yeah, you guys got too many restaurants. I said, you come visit me. Next time you're in the city, you come visit me. And we drove around. And he goes, but it says you have a PF Chang's and a Cheesecake Factory and a Chick-fil-A. Guess what was showing up on the data? Everything behind TSA at the airport. We can't access that. So when I talk to these site developers, it's about the context of this community, not what they see in data, not what they see in pages of spreadsheets. So it's a fight to overcome some of those idiosyncrasies that we're challenged with because of that airport, but we do it day in and day out. You can be rest assured. So I hope I answered some questions that got asked, but that's, and you know what? I got two more things. I'm sorry. I know this all ties together. Housing. Housing is absolutely 100% on our agenda. We know we need housing. It's a national issue. We did the housing study in this community, and that tied in with the E-Course Road Corridor study. And what we found is 86% of our homes in the city are 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. 86% of them. So what we don't have is when everyone's children grow up and they're ready to move out, there's no place for those to move out to. There's no condos, there's no efficiencies, there's no apartments, there's not enough of them to keep those individuals in the city. We lose them, they leave the city, and hopefully when they grow up, there's still enough Romulus charm for them to say, I want to go back and move back home. But what we want to do, and that was part of this E-Course Road Corridor study, is create neighborhoods along that pathway. It's not going to happen tomorrow, it's not going to happen next year, it's going to take time to start consolidating that land. You have some good shopping amenities up front, you have some mixed-use housing behind it, and as you slowly move back, you move into residential single-family homes. So somebody can move out in mom and dad's home in the back of the neighborhood, move up to a condo or an apartment, find a spouse or a loved one and have kids, and then move into maybe a duplex or some sort of brownstone, and then eventually buy a home further back in the neighborhood. It's all about planning, it's all about starting that way and moving forward and doing that. I think the gentleman was still here that talked about the airport and other cities. Detroit Metro Airport is one of 6 cities that are only funded by the carriers. So the airlines that operate out of that airport is who funds the operations. It's not Wayne County, it's not the state, it's not the city of Romulus, it's the carriers. So what happens is, at the end of the year, when they do that budget, all those carriers go, Delta has 60% of the flights, you pay 60% of the budget. Spirit, you got 30%, you pay 30%. So when I go to the airport and I say, hey, we really want to do some awesome screening in a park and a circular bike path around the airport, they go to the budget, and guess what? Those carriers go, it's not making me money. It's putting me in the red instead of the black, and it's costing us dollars, so the answer is no. So we're one of 6 airports nationwide that are funded that way. So that's one of our additional challenges as well. Not only do we have the airport, we have to support all the services outside that fence line, but we also have to find a way to work with them and somehow get them to show us community benefit around that airport. And a lot of people don't understand that. And I can have a conversation with a smaller group like this, but when we're out in public or on social media, you can't explain all these idiosyncrasies. You can't explain the context or show you guys why we are hitting our heads against the wall just as much as you guys are. So I hope that answered some questions for you guys and for the commission as well.
Thank you, Kevin. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Mackin.
This is regard to one of the citizens' letters that were part of the packet, Kayla Hubbard. Now, Kayla works in the planning department, so I imagine her letter carried a lot of resonance with the citizens in this community. And because I've seen in several other comments, they pretty much parrot what she said. I think that when we get into the site plan review, that we address these issues of noise pollution, light pollution, diesel fume exposure. I never even heard of that. Just to make sure that we at least look at these as possible concerns during that site plan review. And then make sure that they aren't issues.
Yeah, absolutely. As part of the special use performance standards, we have some pretty strict performance standards in regards to lighting, noise, and then we can even get into some of these other things on fumes and have the applicant show us that there isn't an issue, or show us their noise level at the property line, show us their light foot candles at the property line. All those performance standards can be done at the special use process. Odors as well.
If we might, we can speak to them now too. We have reports. We've done the studies.
We have done the studies. Well, and it'll come up in the site plan. I just wanted to be aware that let's cover as much of the questions and concerns as we can. You heard them all tonight. People are passionate about their homes. So if you can help with that, please do.
Will do, thank you.
Right.
I got a comment. Through the chair, I also have some comments too. It seems like a lot of people had comments about the Beverly Road vision, what's it's gonna look like from Beverly Road, and then a lot of the people who did approach live in that area. I know we're not approving the two large buildings right now. That would have to go through a special land use, but when it comes up for a special land use, that might be something to think about as far as shuffling that further towards the E-course to give more of a buffer zone, and that would help with noise, it would help with light, and then it would probably help with the screening. And I know you guys have 15%, you're gonna keep 15% of the trees on site. I would recommend that the majority of that 15% be between Beverly Road and that second building, as much as you can. I know you guys do very well with landscaping because of your other projects. I think when people see your final product, they'll be happy with it, but it's definitely something to take in concern with all the people who come up here and talked about the view between Beverly Road and your project. For the special land use, that's definitely something I would want to see.
Understood.
And you have done well. And another thing too is the Five Points Church. That's a huge historical building in our community, and thank you very much for doing that roof. You're saving some of our history. It was our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, then a motion would be in order. After we vote.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Madam Chairman,
Mr. McAnally.
I make a motion based on the findings and recommendations of the Carlisle Wortman Associates CWA report dated March 10th, 2026, and the OHM report of March 6th, 2026. I recommend to City Council approval of the conditional rezoning for RZ 2025-001, Romulus Trade Center North. This is to rezone approximately 108.48 acres. Parcel ID number 80-011-99-0006-702 and 80-011-99-0006, Center North.
You missed 704.
And so another set of numbers in Romulus Trade Center North to rezone. I got all that, right? Okay, in 704 and 32630 Henry Ruff, which is 80-11-99-0013-000 from R1A Single Family Residential to M1 Light Industrial, subject to the revisions to the conditional rezoning agreement per the comments of the City Attorney Consultant Staff Planning Commission being addressed prior to review by City Council. Good luck to reading that back.
I'll support that motion from Mr. McAnally.
Thank you, Mr. Long. I have a motion, there we go. I have a motion from Mr. McAnally, supported by Mr. Long, based on the findings and recommendations of Carlisle Wortman Associates, CWA, dated March 10th, 2026, and the OHM report of March 6th, 2026. We recommend we recommend approval of the conditional rezoning request RZ 25001, Romulus Trade Center North, and to rezone approximately 108.48 acres. And the parcels numbers have already been said about 3-4 different times. Let's see. We are requesting R1A single-family residential be changed to M1 light Industrial to the City Council, subject to revisions to the conditional rezoning agreement per the comments of the city attorney, consultants, staff, planning commission, and the public. Prior to review by the city council. Oh, wait a minute. That these have to be addressed prior to the review by the city council. Any discussion? Okay, if not, then a vote is in order.
Okay, so Kenny, can I just clarify one thing?
Sure, go right ahead.
We added on the motion where it said further comments of the city attorney, consultant, staff, planning commission, and the public. You added that in.
Oh, yeah. Is that good?
I just want to make sure.
I'll accept that addition.
Okay. I know she said it.
She said it.
But I don't know.
Well, I just thought, you know, I mean, we're
I
talking
made the
about.
motion, but I accepted it.
Just concurring that it's there so that it gets picked up.
Right.
We'll bring secretary.
Right.
That's what we added in.
Agree? Okay. Mr. McAnally,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Godfelty, whatever your name is.
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Grova,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Oh, yes.
wake up,
Forgot her name.
Sorry.
Mr. Bouade,
No.
and Jameson is excused,
Excuse.
and Freitag says yes. Okay. So you got a little work to do before you go to city council.
Understood. Yeah, we'll go to work. Thank you.
Thank you.
You go sleep back there. Go to sleep back there.
We should have sent her out for coffee.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Edna, where's that? She brought
Okey dokey, here we go. What did I do with my hand? What did I do with my? Oh, it's over here, right here. Okay, we will move right along. Item 8 is new business. Does anybody have any new business they want to talk about? Don't see anybody. Number 9, PC cases involving advice or input from the planning commission. Carol, Jeff, do you need anything?
Nothing
Okay.
tonight, thank you.
Reports on interest designation, and Ms. Roscoe, City Council.
Yes, I'm only gonna put one thing out here tonight, and with all the storms we've been having, and a lot of people have a lot of down limbs and branches and what have you, the city is providing curbside pickup for branches down from the storm this weekend. But you must put your limbs out to the curb with the cut in out facing towards the curbs. And also you need to call the DPW at 734-942-7579 ASAP, like now. They're only gonna be doing this for about a week or so, and then regular yard waste will start up again the second full week in April. So it's important to know that you need to call, get on that list, and this week to get whatever storm damage that you have out to the street for them. And that's all I'm gonna put out there tonight. It's getting
Mr.
late.
McAnally, do you have anything from the Board of Zoning Appeals?
I have nothing.
Okay. And anybody else have anything on their designation?
tonight.
All righty, we will move right along. Item 11, communications. And we have our project status report. I'm sure everybody had a chance to look at it. Any questions?
Nope.
No? Okay. Item 12 is adjournment.
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Motion from Mr. McIntyre, supported by Mr. Bobade. Mr. McIntyre.
Yes.
Mr. Bobade.
Yes.
Ms. Jameson.
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Godfelty.
Yes.
Mr. Prova.
Yes?
Ms. Roscoe.
Yes.
Chair votes